how simple life really was. Instead of sitting around with family, there was individuals sitting around boxes with screens, and they forgot how to grow their own food. And hunting was replaced by practices which were cruel, and everything seemed to be divided by plastic made with petrochemical oil, which was extremely toxic. And these people also ran their cars on that oil, which polluted the air and the water and the soil. But the ones who benefited didn't care about the earth. They were only interested in how much the oil was worth. When they started running out, they started fighting for control to secure the world's supply. Petroleum was their goal, so they assembled their armies, and their wars destroyed life. They hid the truth from the people, kept it out of their sights. And millions of people were betrayed by these lies, convinced to kill each other and watch each other die. Entire cultures were destroyed before our very eyes. We just sat around and watched the fire falling from the sky. But all the time we knew that it could happen to us. So we were living in fear, and we were on the same bus. By invading other people, we created more enemies, but they believed that they were doing it to make themselves free. This is the world that I grew up in, so you understand my brain when it begins to spin, searching for solutions, a better way to be. And I think much clearer when I begin to breathe. So I breathe in the air. Yeah, take a deep breath. It's everywhere. Heal my spirit, heal my body, heal my soul. I know who I am, consciousness spinning through sacred air. The healers, whatever your call is, actualize and realize and become here to balance these violent times. Warriors of peace, ambassadors of love, always staying centered when push comes to shove. Third eye wide open and dancing to music, accepting the power, knowing how to use it. Coming together, we circle the globe, seeing the oneness, our chakras are glowing. Our vibrations where we want it to be, keep it high, you know how it feels to be free. All you gotta do to understand these ways is breathe real deep and enjoy each day. Work selflessly with others and we'll all survive together. Tomorrow is now and there's beautiful weather, so breathe. Breathe in the air. Yeah, take a deep breath. It's everywhere. Heal my spirit, deep breath. It's everywhere. Heal my spirit, heal my body, heal my soul. I know who I am, consciousness spinning through sacred air.
I've been waiting for something to happen, for a week or a month or a year, with the blood and the ink of the headlines and the sound of the crowd in my ear. You might ask what it takes to remember when you know that you've seen it before, where a government lies to a people and a country is drifting to war. There's a shadow on the faces of the men who sent the guns to the wars that are fought in places where their business interest runs. On the radio, talk shows, and the TV, you hear one thing again and again, how the USA stands for freedom, and we come to the aid of a friend. But who are the ones that we call our friends? These governments killing their own, or the people who finally can't take anymore, and they pick up a gun or a brick or a stone, and there are lives in the balance. There are people on the fire. There are children at the cannons. There is blood on the wire. There's a shadow on the faces of the men who fan the flames of the wars that are fought in places where we can't even say the names. They sell us the president the same way they sell us our clothes and our cars. They sell us everything from youth to religion, the same time they sell us our wars. I wanna know who the men in the shadows are. I wanna hear somebody asking them why. They can be counted on to tell us who our enemies are, but they're never the ones to fight or to die. And there are lives in the balance. There are people on the fire. There are children at the cannons. And there is blood on the wire.
Hey,
There
that's
you
better.
go.
Hi, folks. I'm sorry that we are not online today. You're probably watching this on the repeat in the archives. Lake County Magazine is offline as our server is being serviced. And we're happy about that because that's going to enable people who hopefully
Have Apple products.
have Apple products to operate correctly. They'll see a much user-friendly place to play everything. And we're excited about that.
And it will allow us to stream directly to Roku.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Oh, it will.
Yes.
You verified that.
Yeah, what's happening, folks, is they're
Woohoo!
upgrading the server software from the old stuff to the new stuff, and that means Silverlight will disappear. And those of you who have Apple products, you see the Silverlight come on, and you can't use it because it's Microsoft-based. So that's going away, going with the new Windows server that allows all forms of computers and programming to access it. So that'll be good for everybody. But in the meantime, we're recording. So instead of good morning, I should say good afternoon, good evening.
Or whatever time of the day. Maybe they'll be watching it tomorrow morning.
Well, we do have listeners. Don't ask me why that
We
watch
have
at 1
very
o'clock, 2
loyal
o'clock,
audience.
3 o'clock in the morning. They must be, what's
And
the
we
word?
thank you for that.
They're
They're night owls and they sleep. Well, excuse me. This is Lake County, remember? People sleep late around here because they're up late around here.
yeah, no comment.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
On that note, folks, we're kind of going to go on the fly today. We have no notes prepared here.
Yep.
I have nothing on my screen.
we have a lot to talk about, though. There's some serious issues going on. That Jackson Brown song kind of just touched on what's happening, lives in the balance. There's an outright campaign in this county to outlaw all cannabis use, not just cultivation of it, but the use of it, the possession of it, the processing of it, and everything. And it's starting in Clear Lake, and I'm sure the county's just waiting to see if it's going to be successful there. And I'm pretty sure they're going to carry it back to the county once it gets through. This is an ordinance that the city has made that is much tougher than the Lakeport ordinance, which already has an outright ban on outdoor grows. So I really want to focus on that in one of our segments. We're going to do we want to just go ahead and have, when Harriet comes, just have her go ahead and do her segment?
Yeah.
Then we'll come back
yeah.
and do our stuff because we don't really have any program scheduled guests because there's so much to talk about today. So that's how we'll run it.
All right,
okay?
so why don't we just do our usual.
Do our overview?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Go for it.
So the week in review, Sunday and Monday, I was at the International Cannabis Business Conference. And it was populated by pretty much every mover and shaker in the industry today.
Was that a pun?
No, because he didn't have any shake. He was
We didn't
just
have any
moving.
shake? Okay.
Yeah. And excuse me while I adjust this.
There you go.
Thank
Much
you.
better.
Somebody had it turned all the way down. So what we had was people like Rick Steves from PBS. He does Rick Steves' Guide to Europe. We had Steve DeAngelo from Harborside Medical Clinic down in Oakland. Of course, he was the focus of the TV show called Weed Wars on CNN. We also have members from California Normal, including the director Dale Geringer and the deputy director as well. And, of course, a lot of merchants were there with hawking their goods. Everything from, what do you call this, point-of-sale marketing system? So
What is this? It's a POS system that's made strictly for the cannabis industry, which is all it means is the different products are in there versus food and beverage type items.
licensing people for licensing products that are made from cannabis.
Oh, royalties, huh?
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Drug Policy Alliance was there. We got interviews with everybody, and I apologize, and I'm kind of glad now because we're not streaming. I don't really have any clips ready to play today. We may get into that a little bit later after Harriet's segment if I can pull it together. But it's been a rough day, folks. We've had a lot of technical issues today. So We also had a lot of people from Lake County were there, which I can take credit for spreading the word to get them out.
Of course, you can take credit.
And they had over 1,000 people at $600 a pop.
600. Except for the whole 3 days.
Per 2 days. $600 for 2 days.
Okay, guys, you want to do the mathematics on that?
And unfortunately, I didn't take the book out, but there was a number of speakers. We also connected with Americans for Policy Reform, the Marijuana Politics Group, marijuanapolitics.com. They did an interview with us, they're a media company, and talked about the situation in Clear Lake. The dynamic funding investment companies for investing in cannabis industries.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you made our solicitation, didn't you?
But of course.
Okay.
But they want, they want to see record of sales and income.
Oh, they want.
You have to be established.
Okay, so they're cannabis Shark Tank.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. Let's see. We also had some interesting extraction companies, CO2 companies, medical cannabis education. This is the Cannabis Advisors Institute, consulting on dispensaries and cultivation, marketing, implementation of services, staff training, patient advocacy, etc. And then we had, let me see what else was there. Y Organics, they got extracts that they do. Sacred Serum and other extracts. Quite a few CO2 extract companies.
Can we talk about the CO2 extract for a second?
Yes, we can.
I started having a little seizure last night, and my wife, in her perfect reaction to that, gave me some of this CO2 extract.
This was provided to us as a donation by the CO2 company, and I'd requested a sample so that we could compare, because I have an issue with the CO2 extraction versus the alcohol extraction. My feeling is an alcohol extraction works better. But with Peter's case, we've been doing an infusion instead of an extraction. So that's where you just take the cannabis and you basically soak it in a warm crock pot for 48 hours or something until you pull out all that you can get through that. And then you cook things with it. So it goes into like coconut oil or butter, and you make it into cookies or brownies. And that's how we've dealt with his seizures in the past. So they were kind enough to give me a syringe of their CO2-based CBD product, and it kicked his butt.
Let me just put it this way. We may have gotten a little bit too much underneath my tongue, but so I came out of the seizure literally within a minute or so, but the taste of it was equal to the aroma of minimal grade cannabis. And then all of a sudden I got this burning sensation in my throat, and I literally almost started choking. But it obviously worked. It's just the taste and the after effects of the extract itself, compared to the Rick Simpson oil, where he put a little bit of black tar underneath your tongue. There was no taste, no aftertaste, no side effects whatsoever. So the jury's out on which one's the best at this point.
Yeah, we're still going to experiment with it, though, and that's what I want to check and see. If that gives you a quicker response, and I was impressed with the response. It was less than 5 minutes.
I think that's because the burning sensation just took me out of it.
Okay, so their
Anyway,
edible
we'll
oil
out.
probably isn't really that edible. And there was also a company that does business management software for the cannabis industry. They also had a venture capital company. They had organics company for soil. They had My Free Hat that you see here, MJ Freeway Business Solutions, and they also had Dragon Girls, the little girl who became a Buddha. Okay, and that is a cannabis product line. So a lot of different types of salves and pain relief lotions and that kind of thing. And also Magnolia out of Oakland. They do edibles, and there was another edible company as well that there was a couple of edible companies. And then another company called Conviron. They say building partnerships and creating solutions. I thought that was an interesting group. So it was very fascinating. And the most exciting part was we met the director of the president and CEO of Freedom Leaf, the marijuana legalization company. And what they are is a media corporation. And the good news is they have money to put into media companies to help them get more exposure and improve their technology and all that good stuff. So that was very exciting because he's really interested in working with us here on LCM TV. We have also had a lot of good interviews, and I will try to get those up for you next week because we talked with Steve D'Angelo, Rick Steves, Ed Rosenthal, most of the movers and shakers and the big speakers. Oh, we had a great interview with, and of course I'm blanking on his name, my good buddy that wrote Hempbound. Yes, we have to explain that we're not on the air. Is that line 1 or line 2?
Cole Randall?
Oh, that's for tomorrow. Yeah, just, I can call him back. So, Doug Fine, who wrote Hempbound, and so it was really exciting and a lot of fun. So that was just amazing for 2 days. You know, we didn't really do much of the panel discussions, although they were excellent panel discussions. And there was a really good interview with Steve D'Angelo by Steve Bloom, who used to be with High Times Magazine and is now one of the writers for Freedom Leaf. And they do have actual publication as well as being online and internet-based. So we're very excited about that. And it will be some good footage, and we'll try and get that up as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about the potential of having someone invest in the media here, since we have so much going, hopefully by the end of the year.
Exactly, and that is something else that we don't want to disclose completely, but we have in the works the launch of our Roku box system will be happening by the end of this month, maybe the beginning of March. We're still working on it. There's a lot of technical things involved in doing a Roku channel, and most importantly, having a secure and solid place to stream your signal, which is obviously our problem right now,
right, and that's
because
why
we're not streaming.
Right, and
so
if we get the upgrades going, we'll be able to stream directly to
because
Roku.
our other option would be going to YouTube, which I really don't care to do. So we're trying to keep the quality of our product up as much as possible, but we're also in a situation where, you know, we're kind of at mercy to the powers that be and the way things happen. So the Roku is under construction, and we will be up and running sometime this year in this first quarter.
That means by the end of March.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that would be probably true.
Can we talk about the radio?
Yeah, Cobb Mountain Radio. Do
Yeah.
you want to get that started?
Yeah, while you're Facebooking. Okay.
Well, I'm having meetings with 3 different people at the same time.
Doing a show. I love it. Anyway,
They don't know
folks,
what's going
we've
on.
been given permission, handed to, whatever terminology you want to use, the low-power FM license. That's going to be called Cobb Mountain Radio. And it takes a little bit of money and work to get the station up and running. We got to get engineering reports on the antenna that we can put our receiver or transmitter on. We got to get the equipment here in the studio for that. But once we raise the capital to do that, we should be simulcasting both all our shows here on LCM TV, eventually Roku, and also from the audio version on the Cobb Mountain radio station. So hopefully by the end of the year we'll have that up and running. We're very excited about it because not everyone has internet. And this will give our shows another forum for the general public of Lake County and beyond to be able to listen to our shows. And I think we're going to be reaching Middletown, the Riviera, obviously Lower Lake, Clear Lake, and part of Kelseyville, I believe. So should be interesting once we get up and running. We're going to be looking at all our different programming. We're going to have a board of directors that will keep everything on an even keel, no bias in any of the programming.
And we're planning a major 3-day festival as
yes.
a first fundraiser
Yes.
that will happen. Well, it may not be our first. We probably do some small ones between now and then. But July 4th weekend, we've already got confirmed Pato Banton. It's going to be a reggae festival. Pato. Go, Pato. Pato Banton, Sister Carol. Let me pull up my list. I got a whole list here. We have Mendo Dope with DJ Ignite, Trevor Lyon. Just opening it up here. Clan Dyken, and they're going to bring their pedal power stage. Now, many of you may remember the last ride at the end of the old world, and biking and hiking. I'm looking over there. And biking and hiking with Clan Dyken that we did back in 2012,
I believe.
11, I think it was. Yeah, 11 or 12. Anyway, we did a 3-day tour with them where they went around the lake, and the first night they stayed up in the campgrounds up by Blue Lakes.
God, that was cold.
Did a concert there that night, and then bicycled all the way down to Lower Lake to the Tuscan Village, and did a show that Saturday morning, then rode their bikes again from there to the Moose Lodge in Clear Lake Oaks and did another concert that night there, and then pedaled up to Lucerne and did another show on Sunday up there. And we had Elam did a pancake breakfast
for
everybody.
But you're missing the bigger point.
What?
At the first day up at Blue Lake, they literally was powering their system.
Well, I was getting there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the pedal-powered stage, they literally use bicycles to power their music. So they're going to bring the pedal-powered stage again to the old Van Ranch up in Upper Lake. That's Hippie Joe's place.
Joe.
And they're going to be doing, I hope, all 3 days with the pedal-powered stage because their sets are great and the music is awesome. So Clan Dyken's coming back. We got Righteous Vibrations. We got Higher Logic with Doobie Logic, and that's what we've got locked in right now, but we're talking to a lot of other artists, too. I mean, we got 3 days to fill with music. Oh, Midnight Sun and Black Slate from England will also be there, and Midnight Sun is out of Gurnerville.
You know, when we first started talking about this months and months and months and months ago, someone said they had a contact with Santana.
Yeah, but this wouldn't fit in with that.
I don't care.
When we're ready to go to the alternative festival, that's when we'll
so now
bring
Santana's
Santana
alternative?
Well, yeah,
no.
Classic rock. It's an alternative world. Look, I'm not going to get in a debate with you about Santana. I love Santana. It just doesn't fit in the lineup that we've got going right now.
I understand, but it's not alternative.
It's my I didn't say it was alternative.
Hang on. Mr. Cameraman, didn't she say alternative?
Thank you. What I said was, and you cut me off, it's an alternative world festival. That would be where he would fit, because that festival has plans for classic rock music in it.
And who's holding that one?
We will be someday.
Someday.
So anyway.
Anyway, on that note.
God, you are so hard case today.
Well, we're recording, so I can get away with murder today.
Really?
Because I can always edit out the problems.
I don't think so. I think you got to put the raw video right up there,
whatever.
Dude.
Okay.
So
you made me lose my train of thought here. Oh, by the way, folks, I will be creating a nonprofit organization. I mean, a real 501c3 for Cobb Mountain Radio and some of our other media ventures. So anyone who wants to donate, we appreciate it because it does cost a lot of money.
And anybody that would like to volunteer.
Absolutely.
Coming up very soon in our programming, we're going to be having a 5-day-a-week news show, half-hour show. It's going to air at noon, and it'll air until 12:30 every day, and then we'll rebroadcast it at 6:30. So those that can't figure out how to use the archives can go there and see it live again. That being said, we are going to be in great need of people to help us report stories. We're also in discussions with another local media source to partner with on the news program.
I tell you,
so we can
it's
have,
not going to be.
Well, obviously. So we can have a real comprehensive news outfit that we can provide you the best reporting possible. So we're excited about that.
And that's going to provide a lot of other additional benefits to the listening public too, which we cannot.
Exactly. So that's a blessing.
Yes, it is. So anyway, so that unfortunately I didn't have the opportunity to attend the conference this weekend. I had to stay at home.
Yes.
Like a good little husband.
He was awesome because we had a family tragedy.
Yeah.
Our 18-year-old cat Milo finally passed away, and it was actually not a
No, it
bad
wasn't.
event for him.
No.
I mean, 18 is like 3 years longer than the longest that most cats live. I mean, it's very unusual for a cat to live that long.
And he died naturally.
And he did. He died at home. He died in Peter's arms, and he died peacefully. So we feel very, very excited about, not excited, but we're very sad about it.
Yeah.
But we also are happy that it was an easy transition for him. That's
Did
where
you
I was
did
going
you see
with that.
Jamila's and Kareem's post?
No,
Jamila put up the picture of Bandit and Milo together,
right?
and then both of them said he was a very weird and strange kitty cat. He came out of the desert when he was a real kitten and said, "Oh, I'm here now. You're adapting me," but they're both of them said he was weird.
He was a different cat.
He
He really
was.
was. When he'd go outside, we used to say he was going out to call the mothership because he had this alien-looking face and these eyes that were just gigantic, and he literally looked like an alien. So
and he
we
almost
really
went out,
felt he was there protecting
yeah,
us.
he was almost went out every single day at the same time.
Yep.
And that's why we said, going back in the desert, mothership must be calling him. Has
So
to
on my
report in."
tribute to him on Facebook, I said the mothership came and took him
Yep,
home.
absolutely. So he's up back in his home planet.
Yes, and I want to send my condolences out to Liz Bird. She lost her father this week
that's
as
right,
well.
yeah.
And also to Phil Blair, he lost his grandfather.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And also to Big Jim up in Willits, he lost his love of his life, his puppy dog.
Oh.
Yes, I mean, people just dropping and animals dropping like flies. And we had a near-death experience while we were in San Francisco this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So here I am searching the internet, trying to find a really good deal on a good hotel, right? So we can have a safe place to stay for the one night that we're spending in San Francisco. So we get there and I get online and I find this place that's called the Royal Pacific Motor Inn. And it's in Chinatown. And it looks nice from the outside. The rooms look decent and a lot of good reviews. It was like a 7 out of 10 or something, and that's good enough for me for $90 a night. So I said, okay, that sounds like we're going to have a good time. Let's go. It was close to where the venue for the conference was and everything. So we got down there. The room was really nice. The staff were really nice. There was a parking garage right next door. We had free parking in the hotel for one car, and the parking attendant next door to us gave us a deal where we got a $20 parking from Sunday all the way to Monday evening, which is like $80 worth of parking. And it was because he was Ethiopian.
Yeah, you schmoozed him.
And I did. I mean, when I saw him, before he even got the word out of his mouth, I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Ethiopia." And I started speaking Amharic to him because my ex-husband had taught me Amharic because he was part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So, he's like, "Whoa, you already know too much about me." And I said, "Yeah, man, so hook me up." And he did. So he got us a great deal on the parking, so we were thrilled. So we thought we had really died and gone to heaven at this point, We got this perfect location. We got the great price. We got the free parking and the discount on my friend's car. And my friend is Heidi, by the way. Those of you who are familiar with our crew, Heidi works with us a lot on the live events that we do. So everything was great. Came back from the conference, went to bed. 2:30 in the morning, I hear a blood-curdling scream from a woman down below. And then a lot of Chinese yelling back and forth. And then a huge crash. And I said, "Oh, boy, what happened?" Somebody got thrown off the balcony. It was like a 6-foot high building, and it circled around the parking lot. And I went out in the balcony, off the balcony, and looked, and there was a man sprawled out in the center of the parking lot with his legs in one direction, his arms going in the other, both legs going in different directions, and he's not moving a muscle. And then I look over to the left, and about probably 20 feet away from him is a knife with a blade about this big, and it's laying on the ground.
Welcome to Chinatown.
Yeah, and so you were just like, geez, did they throw him off the balcony? Did they kill him? What the hell's going on? Well, we talked to some of the people that actually saw what was going on, and what happened was there's a Vietnamese restaurant across the street, and this guy had been parked in our parking lot, which is illegal, and I'm sure he really cared too. And he was chased by a couple of other guys and a woman across the street into our parking lot, and his friend got into their car, and somehow he reversed and ran over this guy with his car twice. And the guy was bleeding from the head. He was unconscious. It looked like his back might have been broken. I mean, really serious injuries. And, of course, one thing that was good was the police were there within 60 seconds. I mean, the response was phenomenal. And the ambulance came and everything else. And then, you know, so that was pretty traumatizing. And it was like, oh, my God, you know, is this guy going to die or what? And, of course, Peter had called me at 11:30 that night to tell me that Milo had passed. So I'm already dealing with the death of my cat. And then I have a human out down below that's almost dead. So I'm like, geez, this is really nice.
And then you heard the roosters.
Well, I'm getting
sorry.
there. Don't
All
blow
right.
my story.
I'm sorry.
So the next morning, we're out there, and there's blood all over the tarmac of the asphalt of the parking lot, and it's like 50 feet away from where my car is parked. And I go out just to check out the scene. I hear this, "Brap, brap, brap," and I look over to the right where there's this Chinese restaurant, and the lady over there is very, very deftly cutting off the heads of 6 roosters.
Hey, fresh meat for the restaurant. What can I
So
say, folks?
now I got to deal with the dead cat, the almost dead man, and 6 dead roosters. And I just said, oh, boy, this is Chinatown, man. This is Chinatown. So I am like, I'm just not quite sure if I would go back to that hotel again.
Sounds interesting.
I know it does, doesn't it? I mean, it really was literally
So
in the heart of Chinatown.
But there was
so.
no haunting, no ghosts, no spirits there?
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Being
Right-
San Francisco, Chinatown, you figure there was some spirits
Well,
hanging out.
nothing came around our room, you know, but obviously, sorry? Maybe.
Get off. Good point. So anything else about the conference?
Oh, wait a second.
I hear somebody in the backdrop.
Are we streaming? I think we're streaming.
If my computer would unfreeze itself, go to
Joel, are you showing that we're streaming?
try putting it on.
Because somebody just sent a message talking about, I think, what we're talking about.
Can you open up golivestream.tv?
Okay.
Okay. I said that. Sorry, folks. If you're looking on our channel, which obviously you're not going to know about until you hear this later on today, they're upgrading everything. But if you go to our site, they have putting up their own slides and pictures and stuff. So it looks like we're streaming. But
Oh, she might have just caught a clip that was up. Yeah, there's nothing playing.
yeah, it's from our July 2nd show, folks. So if you want to see us in our summer
January,
uniforms.
July 2nd?
Yeah.
Is that the one they're using? Oh, so Linda's talking to us.
So, folks, if you want to go back 6 months or 8 months and look at our July 2nd show, obviously right before July 4th, who knows what you're going to hear. I don't go back to the archives so much unless I'm following up on a story. So, but the conference was good. It was very valuable information, right?
Oh, my gosh. It was so
I mean, it
cool.
was worth the money we
And
had
what
to
I
spend.
loved, what did we have to spend? We got the tickets for free.
Hotel,
Okay,
gas,
2 tickets
parking,
were $600 each. That's $1,200 we got for free. We had no cost on our parking except for the first day was $13 and $20 because we figured out we had a handicap pass, so we got free handicap parking the
gonna leave
rest
that
of the
one
day. Well, my friend was handicapped.
And
So that was the only money we spent, and then I spent a couple dollars on bottles of water. I mean, we brought our own food.
so you didn't actually buy food anywhere?
No,
Really?
no,
That's amazing.
we didn't eat out once. No, I had brought some crab salad.
Did they provide food at the conference?
No,
Really?
just coffee.
Coffee and water?
Hmm.
That's something.
Yeah.
Cheapos.
Yeah.
$600 for the
I
ticket.
know
You
they
think
should
they'd
have
give
had
you
at
some-
least some. I'm sure the
little
speakers all had
Yeah,
something.
a little breakfast buffet, a little nightcap, So.
Yeah,
How's Mr.
Linda Marie says, I was wondering about why they were talking about the fire.
Well, we were fire in the barn.
I know, the fire in July or June or whatever it was
Well,
on that
June,
show.
July, whatever. So,
Oh, that's too
yeah.
funny.
I just want you to know,
Yeah,
folks,
so
since we're not live, I'm staring at Mark, our cameraman, because he's an unusual gentleman, and I'm having fun going back and forth with him. It makes
Oh,
me
yeah.
look at the camera more. 'Cause
and
I'm
I
a-
want to thank Joel for coming in and doing this
Yeah,
too
he
because
wasn't-
he's really getting that TriCaster down, and I really appreciate
Except he's
that.
behind the scenes. I was afraid he's going to fall asleep on us.
Stay awake, Joel.
All right, good night.
Is Harriet here? Okay.
Okay.
So why don't we just chat till 10:30 and then we'll
Okay.
put her on.
I
Okay.
like- I-
Harry, you good for the next 10 minutes? Okay.
Okay. I'd like to approach just two quick subjects, if I may.
But of course.
Okay. It's kind of involved our conversation about cannabis, pot, weed, whatever. I finished a tax return for a client yesterday, and they are within the cannabis industry, and they were referred to me, I don't know, a year ago, 9 months ago, and they came in a very sincere manner saying, help. We want to become legit. We do not know how to. We do not know what the laws are. We don't know what about taxes. And so we sat down, had a nice chat, and we fixed their nonprofit to make it up to, you want to, that's Bob again. And make a long story short, I explained to them what they need to do from a taxation point of view, and they said, we want to do anything and everything we have to do to be 100% legitimate. And that was very refreshing to have someone come in from this industry who's been underground for all these years to come in and say, show me how to become legitimate.
That's wonderful.
And
That's what the thing is. People are so, interested in becoming legal.
well, because we did 2 years of prior tax returns. We have their nonprofit corporate tax return done, their personal tax returns done. They can go and have already been pre-qualified for a mortgage. So they're buying a home to put on the land that they own free and clear. And they were just like, this is kind of cool. And before they start doing this, we sat down and did some planning. And I said, look, guys, you're going to have to take a payroll check. We can do it at the end of the year. Pay taxes on that. That means payroll taxes plus income taxes. If we do that, here's your net profit of your corporation. You're going to owe X amount of taxes on that. And they came in, and I was doing this as just on a what if scenario. And I got the final numbers, and they actually paid less taxes than they were anticipating. They actually getting a personal refund back. And they just left here as happy campers because they're legit. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize. Now, I want to go to some of these gatherings, be it the Emerald Cup next year or whatever the case may be.
Well, I did talk to a tax attorney who's specializing in helping people,
Right.
and he wants you to give him a call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my point here, folks, is that we actually have people in this industry here locally who do not want to be underground. They want to do things legit so that way they can buy cars, they can qualify for mortgages, and they don't mind paying taxes. So it was just a nice story to see a young couple come in and say, help us, show me the way, and let's get it done. And they didn't care about having to pay the extra taxes because they're now capable of qualifying for stuff that we all are capable of qualifying. So I know that has an indirect conversation to what my wife was talking about, but it just shows you that with these conferences going on, with the groups that are being formed to be lobbyists, for better choice of words, in Sacramento to make this a legal business down the road, is that this whole industry is changing. It's no longer the shady cartels. It's no longer the AK-47s and the Fords, even though they
They're
unfortunately
there,
still
but
exist.
they're not as prevalent.
Yeah, you don't hear about these busts going down anymore of the cartels. I'm sure they're there, and maybe they're being. Never mind, I won't go there. But it's getting to the point now where those in the industry really need to realize that you have obligations. You got to abide by the California state laws. You got to have a nonprofit organization, which is a mutual benefit corporation, which is kind of like a co-op membership-based company. It's not really a nonprofit from a taxation point of view, but it meets the requirements of the Medicinal Marijuana Act or whatever the thing's called. And you got to do that. If you're a collective, you got to do that.
We've got to legitimatize this business. It's just
exactly.
It's too hard for us to make progress when everybody is running their businesses like stoners.
And the thing is,
it just doesn't work that way.
It gives more ammunition to the cannabis people to say, well, you guys, you don't do anything for the economy, you don't pay taxes, you don't do this, you're a bunch of stoners.
Right.
By doing things the right way, by legitimizing your business operations under our state law, you become normal, regular business people. And that way you have no, I hate to use the word shame, but you have no concerns about the legitimacy of your business.
Right.
Just because people may not like what you sell or what you produce doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right.
I mean, I don't like cigarettes, but people sell cigarettes. I don't like hard liquor. People sell hard liquor.
Right.
So there's no difference here. So that's my kind of minor rant or information for that.
Okay, well, let's talk about what's happening with the people from the blog.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to name any names
No,
here,
we're
but
not.
the guy who actually runs the blog that has a lot of, it's a double-edged sword. The blog is an anonymous place where people can say whatever they want about any politician or any person in Lake County. What happens, though, is people attack each other because it's anonymous, so there's a lot of stuff going out there that shouldn't be going out there, and a lot of information is shared, and some of it is true and correct, and some of it is not. And they have had a battle between them with Lake County News for a very long time because Lake County News is one of those media sources that they feel is biased and prejudiced towards certain people in this county. And because of that, the gentleman that runs that site, and a couple other people in Lake County were raided by the California Highway Patrol Cyber Crimes Division out of Sacramento. And the accusations are that this person who could not even run his own computer
Can't even
until
access email.
couple of years ago, that this person was responsible for hacking the Lake County News website. Well, they got a search warrant that was issued by Judge Martin, and of course, Brian Martin is continuously being attacked on that particular blog. And so right there, I see a conflict of interest for him doing the search warrant. But
matter of fact, let me stop right there.
Yes.
This is a criminal matter. Is that correct?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, because
he said he wasn't going to take any criminal cases.
When Brian Martin was running, there was a lot of discussion about Judge Martin and the conflict of interest. And he said he was going to resign himself to strictly doing civil matters. So why is he even signing this search warrant?
That's what I'd like to know. This has
Inquiring
nothing to do with
minds
the
want to know,
civil
folks.
matter. This whole thing stinks, folks. Let's
Yeah.
just say it like that. Okay, so the report from the investigator that was submitted to Judge Martin states that that was a possible distributed denial of service attack against a web-based newspaper group called the Lake County News. And the source of attacks is believed to be a self-proclaimed local government monitoring group. And the allegation is based on research conducted by the LCN website creators, John and Elizabeth Jensen. Now, it's interesting to me that Elizabeth is now using the name Jensen. What's the matter, Elizabeth? You don't want to be my sister anymore? Everybody thinks we're related because we have the same last name. And I notice here they made it perfectly clear that her last name is Jensen. Okay. I want to see that in print. Anyway.
Well, wait, hang on. I know. Never mind. Go ahead.
Anyway, they say these attacks have caused significant disruption of computer services to LCN, its readers, and advertisers who use the website to advertise their businesses, and has resulted in, get this, folks, victim expenditures in excess of $100,000. Really? You don't even have $100,000 worth of advertising on there, and there's no way you could have spent that kind of money because we know you don't have it. So that's one problem. Okay.
Well, that's why he's doing that, so he can have some money.
Exactly. He's just trying to use this as an excuse to bring down this blog, which he hates. But the problem with this is that this report also mentions Peter and myself. It also mentions Lake County Magazine, although not in any accusatory way, but also associating us with this possible hack, which I'm very, very, very upset about because we had nothing to do with it.
Well, this was back in 2011, right?
It started back then,
Yeah.
from what I understand. And we didn't even have a website or anything associated to them. Actually, it says since May of oh, wait, no, that's the guy's background, sorry. So, supposedly the FBI was involved in this and a bunch of other agencies. And his evidence is really unusual because there's no IP that tracks back. They took their computers, they robbed they raided their houses. There's like 2 or 3 people. They raided their houses, they took their computers with this search warrant, and they're now doing a search to determine who's behind it. But the evidence that JJ has presented, JJ as in John Jensen, is the screenshot of the introduction at this website that basically says that they're against Lake County News and Sheriff Mitchell because of biased reporting. Hello, that's the reason Lake County Magazine exists, because of biased reporting by Lake County News and the Record Bee at the time. So we're kind of curious as to how he thinks that he can blame this on this gentleman, because this guy couldn't hack his way out of a paper bag. It's pretty bad.
It's true.
Here's what appears. Well, I'm not going to read anything out of this because this is still pretty confidential, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is going on. People have had their homes raided. One gentleman was broken into when he wasn't even home, and they took his computers, and he is not even associated with the blog. He just is some other person, random person that had an IP address that they could match up. Well, here's the deal, folks. I never go to Lake County News because they track IP addresses. Okay, once you get in there, they know who you are. And I have made it a rule since 2010 when they blocked me because I said shame on them for not telling the truth. They blocked me from their site, and that's when I realized they could track your IP, because that's the only way you can be blocked is through an IP block. So ever since that point, I've never gone back there. When people send me links to stories that are in Lake County News, I say, sorry, I can't read it. So in the investigation, the IP address that has been tracked so far goes to the Lake County government building. Yes, dear. So now they're saying that these sophisticated hackers have figured out a way to hack into the county's computer network to be able to hack the LCN from the county. Okay, there's nobody in this county that has those kind of computer skills. This is something that's way too sophisticated for anyone to do. And I hate to say it, but there may have been, a hacker do something, but I highly doubt it's the people that they're targeting.
Well,
at this point.
I think we need to make an inquiry, and I'll do this to.
Oh, and he says that this started in September of 2009.
Oh, 9. We
Yeah.
didn't exist.
We
then.
weren't even here then.
But I'd like to know what the county's firewalls and security protection may be, because if someone actually did hack into that, number one, a professional hacker is not going to waste his time in Lake County. There's no information there to get. We already know how the board supervisors are anyway. So this has to be an internal job. And it sounds like the firewall and the security system at the county level may not be up to par, because this has to be a local hacker. And that means they went through a back door. And if they went through a back door, that means that it couldn't have been very well blocked.
I have my suspicions on who is actually behind this.
Yeah, no comment.
And that person no longer lives in the state of California, so I don't know what kind of activity could be done to react to this.
But he, she, it was around.
But
during
it
that
definitely was. Oh, absolutely. And it definitely was not the person in charge of this blog, because, as I say, he probably is not even capable of doing anything like that. So, but what really cracks me up is they show pictures of the guy's car and his license plate in front of his house, and they said, well, this car belongs to him, so this is proof that he owns that house.
What's that got to do with the price of eggs?
Statements that were made on the blog basically saying, we're watching you, LCN, and we're going to be, we will take care of you if you don't be careful. And they're calling that a direct threat, which, again, these people pretty much threaten anybody that does things that they see as being wrong. So I'm just like really disappointed that this is where Mr. Jensen has decided to go with this. I know that this blog is a big problem for a lot of people, including ourselves, because up until recently we were victims of multiple attacks, not only from people that don't agree with us, but from people like John Jensen and Joey Lewis and other people. Now, I have to say, we went to a meeting last night and Joey was there and he was absolutely wonderful, and I thank him for being, a really solid guy for that. And it looks like, this attitude that he had about us really generated from the city council, and now he's off that. He seems to have changed up his attitudes because he was actually showing no problems with us.
Yeah, he was professional and mature.
Okay, so it's just something that we're watching, and we'll keep you posted on it, but it shows violation of rights. It shows false claims against this person. The Lake County News might have to pay some legal fees or something in the future if this thing goes to a lawsuit.
Well, I don't think that since this is state-based, not county-based, I don't think the jurisdictions involved, including the DA's office, are even going to waste their time and money on this.
Well, they wouldn't be the ones doing it. It would be coming from Sacramento if they were going to prosecute.
Well,
it wouldn't be locally.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, no, they won't. They probably won't bother.
No,
but in the meantime, the gentleman hasn't got his computer. Other people that don't even know about the blog, they got their computers taken, and it's a pretty sad situation. And I also think it's very coincidental that Judge Martin signed the search warrant.
Again, it's this criminal offense, and he has no business.
And he's recused himself from all criminal activity.
So that's another inquiry.
And maybe that was just for the election? Is that possible?
Anything's possible. This is Lake County. No, it's not just for Lake County because he still has a conflict. His son is the sheriff. If any case goes in front of him criminally, then he has a bias involved. No matter how fair he may or may not be, you're automatically going to have some form of bias. And if I was someone in front of the judge and I was found guilty, I would appeal that and also, it's just not right. I was going to say sue the judge. I don't know if that's possible or not. Anyhow, so
okay, so let's get
Harriet here.
Harriet in here for her next segment on the Zodiac Killer
Woo.
investigation. Woohoo!
Is she there?
Can you hand me those posters, Pete? While that's happening, if you can zoom in on these, I can show some of the people some of the interesting little posters I picked up. It's called Re-Legalize Marijuana in the United States, and it has a lot of quotes. Each line of the flag has a different quote from a different president. Make the most of... I'm trying to read this from the backside. Make the most of the Indian hemp seed and sow it everywhere, said George Washington. We shall by and by want a world of hemp more for our own consumption, John Adams. Hemp is of first necessity to the wealth and protection of the country. That was said by Thomas Jefferson. John Madison claimed hemp gave him insight on starting a new democratic constitution. So our country was founded on hemp, and John Madison even got his inspiration. James Monroe openly smoked hashish while serving as an American ambassador to France. Andrew Jackson and Zachary Taylor smoked marijuana with their troops in the Mexican-American War. They're all a bunch of stoners. Marijuana is about the only good thing about the Mexican-American War. Franklin Pierce said that. Abraham Lincoln did not utter those hemp and harmonica or prohibition temperance quotes, but cannabis and hashish preparations were available during his time. On the evening of July 16, 1962, John F. Kennedy and Mary Pinchot Meyer smoked marijuana together. Suppose the Russians did something now, just said John Kennedy when he's stoned. I support legislation amending federal law to eliminate all federal criminal penalties for the possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana. Jimmy Carter.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Quickly.
Thank you. Folks, those of our generation know this, but the younger ones, JFK was basically a war hero in World War II, and he had tremendous injuries and suffering from his duty on a can't remember what type of boat it was, but it was like
A PT 109.
PT 109. Thank you. And it's kind of funny you mentioned that because he probably used that to help alleviate a lot of his pain.
Very much so. Bill Clinton. Now,
Well,
you could take this one with a grain
Yeah,
of salt
yeah.
because of Monica Lewinsky, but when I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it. I didn't inhale and never tried it again. Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
whatever,
Bill.
dude.
George Bush. I wouldn't answer the marijuana questions. You know why? Because I don't want some little kid doing what I tried. The war on drugs has been an utter failure. We need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws. When I was a kid, I inhaled frequently. Barack Obama. Thank you for letting me share that. One more thing, I want to let you know what I picked up while I was there. And anybody who's interested in learning about this, please come by the office and let's let you can have a look at it. This gives you a nice chart of all the different methods of delivery, whether it be raw or heated or aged, and also the CBD, what is it called? CBC, CBD, CBG, THC, all the different levels of what you can do with this plant and what it's good for and what it helps to ail, okay? So this is your guidebook to healing. You want to know what to take for what ailment, this is where you find it.
Cool.
Our new technology and research is finally giving us this information, and we're so grateful. Okay. I'm sorry, you're not on yet. Hold on. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'll be looking at that too. We've had
Sure.
some very, I would say in our area, some very private issues with people using what they claim is medicinal marijuana, but it's not exactly what they're doing.
Well, the problem
But-
is indoor
but-
grown is
I
not
don't care.
medicinal. I mean, it's okay, but it's not your good medicine.
Well, what
You
I'm
need
getting
outdoor
at
grown.
is people using what they say is medicinal marijuana, but it's been so genetically altered and engineered to that the bud mimics to many people high levels of almost like opiates. And
Oh yeah, it's very strong, especially
And,
this stuff that we're doing here.
Yeah, so you know, it's so I'll just chime in for a few seconds on this. Yes, I'm honestly glad that they've changed a lot of the laws right now, but they definitely need to hurry up and get off their butts and and reestablish some, you know, criteria to let people who really do need to, because I was a caregiver for 9 years actually. 8 years of my elderly aunt, and then I tried to do a outside caregiving job for about 6 weeks. If people that really did need medical marijuana, so and they would be the ones that would be growing it only for themselves, not growing it and then trading it for a car and trading it all kinds of, you know, abusing the system. So fortunately, those who abused it has abused the system and made all these ridiculous changes come about for reasons that people don't like. But I'm all for it. But if you're gonna change those laws overnight, man, you better change them and make it so there are people that can use it like they really need to, and affordably, and work things out with collectives to where they're gonna make something very affordable for those patients during the interim of all these changes. You know, because there are people out there who are dying from cancer who. And, you know, they're the victims in all of this because of other people who abuse the system. But anyway.
All right. So,
Yes, he brought
Okay.
up something very important last week. Okay, go ahead.
You
guys-
say what he brought up first while I bring up
he
the...
said, what about all these codes? I mean, what are you talking about? You know, something about, you know, how are they... some of them can be copywritten and some of them might be patented and so on. And so it reminded me of my book cover. And if you want to zero in, this is the copy of my book cover. And why it's called Orbis Cinifer. It means signs and symbols that rotate. And Jack Torrance's MK digraph system is his MK Ultra system, because MK Ultra, if you look it up, it means digraph. It has It has 150 of all the sub projects, and it was the Cold War era. So all the stuff that I looked at, because I didn't believe until about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, yeah, it was probably Cold War era stuff. And my book, the symbols that are on the cover represent much of the codes and things that I've seen over the years. And I can explain a few of them if you like, but the most important thing is a lot of people in the Zodiac cases, whether they believe it's Jack or not, noticed that there was a possibility of using Morse code. And Morse code is basically it's a patented code. There's some copyright issues if you're going to try to claim that you invented it, or the 4 dots mean something as if you didn't know that it would actually mean something in Morse code. But then there's another interesting thing where we get to the Native American things, the Apache. If you talk to a lot of Apache, especially White Horse Mountain Apache, my apologies for that, is they claim that they're the ones who invented Morse code, and Samuel Morse just perfected it and patented it. And then, so you see some correlations there, because some of these symbols that I believe Jack Torrance is he used are Native American. And we'll explain that sometime, but he brought up about, the symbols and patents and codes, and there's some other codes that Cold War era people used that were patented, and I'm trying to remember exactly what the names were, but then those who were in the MK Ultra, CIA, Intel stuff all over the world adjusted it to suit their needs, so they could keep secrets from one another. And there's a number of them out there. So, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm still waiting for some copyrights, and I'm writing for my ISBN number, and it's being held up. So,
just looking up this on Wikipedia, Project MK Ultra. It actually started back in the 1945, just at the end of World War II, which is kind of interesting because it was, quote, top secret at that time. And my father was in intelligence through the Army, and it said that it is a direct relationship. It started off with Army intelligence.
Wow.
Yes.
I wish my father was still alive.
And guess who was in on that early stuff?
Yeah.
If you start digging a little deeper, you'll find the names of Nixon. And you brought up about PT-109 and Kennedy. He used during that incident, PT-109, he used, I think it's called the Monarch Code. And I drew it here because I had looked at it for the longest time. But this is the code that President Kennedy used to help rescue some. It's reportedly he used it to help rescue some of the people in PT-109 because he was in trouble. So he used the Monarch Code.
Can you lift it up just a little bit? There you go.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, now he's got.
Am I too high?
No, just hold it still.
I hope you're not too
Just
high.
hold it still.
So I had to put that in there because I found that to be fascinating, because obviously Kennedy was also using code in order to rescue and, being there in the South Pacific.
Cool.
So let's see. Oh, my goodness. I can go over all these codes, but you brought up that important thing. Here's one right here. I have this at home, but this is part of it. This is actually a piece of jewelry that's Navajo. It's circa 1870. And
No, show it to the camera,
sorry.
not to me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can look at the line.
I only put part of it in there because somehow, some way, that helped me decode a lot of things that were in regards to Jack Torrance and Dennis Kaufman. Hi, Dennis, because I know you're going to be watching shortly.
Well, he won't be because we're not streaming.
Well, no, he'll check online. Trust me. Okay. Dennis Kaufman is Nora Kaufman's son, who's married Jack Torrance. He's a direct descendant of the Anasazi, and so is Charles Torrance, who is Dennis's half brother. Anyway, this is from that area, and that's actually it's a brooch that I found was actually in code for a circa 1870 map for where some gold and silver was found. It belonged to the Navajo, but well, I think we all know what happened to a lot of Native Americans. Every time somebody found something that really belonged to them, somehow, some way, got pilfered through our government sources. But people, I would say people like Jack were the kind of guys who were trying to give it back to them in their own way and trying to help in their own way. Because we know that the Navajo code talkers, without them, we probably would be all speaking a whole bunch of languages and under different systems, political systems that we wouldn't have wanted to been had not been for the Navajo code talkers. And people like Jack were in intel at that time period, and I would say that he knew a lot about the Navajo code talkers. They were declassified by 1968, but so anyway, I can go on and on.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
For it. Uh-huh.
Looking up JFK Monarch, it actually comes to a very interesting website, which is a bunch of YouTube videos, and it says CIA and FBI, COTEL, Pro, Monarch, MK Ultra, and Phoenix programs, and it has a list of all the videos that were secret and have been released through the Freedom of Information Act, and it starts with. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I like this type of stuff.
Oh, I love this.
Rare Video 87, the secret government, and then there's 1 through 9 videos of that. Then they have different ones on CIA smuggling, the brain, the mental experiment. So, you know, guys, I hate to say it, this stuff's real.
Yeah, a lot. That's what makes this more interesting because Orbis Cinifer means signs and symbols that rotate, and MK Ultra CIA era, the era of the Cold War, that's where they were using was signs and symbols that rotated, so that way when it was put a certain way in a letter or some kind of message, it read something like even a laundry list of, buy batteries today, buy something today, da-da-da-da-da. But then when you rotated certain symbols or certain things in there, then it would say, today is the day that they're going to kill Nixon, And, it's just the way the Cold War was. And it probably still is a lot like that. I'm hearing that they're still using one-time pad, which is the easiest way to get a message back and forth. They said they found it in the hands, I think recently, of who they blame Al-Qaeda on and Islamic things. That type of code stuff's been going on for centuries. So
since you brought up the Afghanistan and all that good stuff, there was a picture on Facebook last night, and I'm not going to state that it was real. I don't know, but because with Photoshop,
yes.
it was a picture of
Osama bin Laden
and Condoleezza Rice 2 weeks prior to 9/11.
With the biggest shit-eating grin on Condoleezza's face that I have ever seen anybody have. She has this cat swallowed the canary grin that is just so huge, and of course he's standing there like a statue with no emotion in his face whatsoever.
Then there were other pictures
scary.
I found off that actually had pictures of help me, I can't pronounce things today.
I didn't see the other pictures, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, he was there along with some of his colleagues.
Well, he was trained by the CIA.
I know, but he was in the White House, the president's own office, with Obama. And again, anything can be photoshopped, folks. So I'm not saying it was real, but it
it's
looked
just going to be mind-blowing when you see things like that.
Yeah, and
especially
my point here, because I'm trying to stay on your subject, is that there's not a Cold War going on. There's a manipulation of our alleged fight on terrorism. When everyone knows that bin Laden was CIA trained, all of the, quote, terrorist groups were all funded by the U.S. CIA, and that they're really not the original ones. I know ISIS might be a little bit different, but Al Qaeda and all those were actually created with American nonprofit organizations, and all of the supporters with the CIA funded these nonprofits to go out and buy arms.
Boy, wouldn't you
ammunition,
say
and
we
training.
are our own worst enemy?
Absolutely. So it goes back to the point is we do have a Cold War. It's just not against
It's
Russia
just
anymore.
it's just but the same styles of espionage and the same styles of people that are bush pilots. I can bring. Okay, we're going a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not. We're really not.
We're a
straying too
little
far.
off topic, but
No,
we're
no,
getting into the
but it's-
background
it's
of all
the
this.
same-
Yeah,
the
it's
same
fine.
thing. Okay. You have a guy named David Ferry, who was associated
That's
with
the name of the
David-
guy
yeah.
that runs the Record B.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's right. It
The
is.
new
Anyway,
editor.
it's David
we need to check his
Ferry.
background.
David Ferry was definitely. They now say he's definitely involved with the JFK era and MK Ultra era, but he was a hero and a villain. He was a Bush pilot for drug running, which was connected to even then CIA intel stuff. Because you had to. If you wanted information of the bad guys, you had to go in to be a part of the bad guys and get the information out, and then to the drug sales or whatever, and then come out and say, yeah, they're going to try to kill Castro tomorrow.
Yeah, that's another story.
But I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing. You got they're heroes and villains, and that's what's going on today. You got the Bush pilots that are going in to do the part of the drug sales or whatever. Then they're coming out and saying, oh, they're going to try to kill Obama tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So it's basically so much. It's
July 2nd.
I'm wearing the same shirt.
Yes. I'm sorry. We're just having fun today.
The server where they're trying to fix our stream, they've got an old program from
and you're wearing
June
July
in there, and I've got the same shirt on.
Well, I'm wearing
That's
something
too
because
funny.
it was a little cold this morning. But anyway, somebody will be looking and say, "Boy, wasn't she wearing that in November when I started?" But so it actually, in a weird way, because we're dealing with Cold War like stuff and intel and espionage and how it works. That's what the Zodiac cases were basically about. But the MK Ultra was secretly headquartered at 225 Chestnut Street in San Francisco, really not far where Paul Stein was alleged to be killed, and a whole bunch of things that a lot of our government didn't want people to know right away. And here's a guy named Jack Torrance who's realizing that they're trying to, at the time, get rid of those in MK Ultra. And yeah, okay, he's a hired assassin, he's a hired killer, or he's a guy who also was in the military, a couple of arms of military. Again, in his own ways, I've said in previous episodes here, it looks to me that he was trying to say, okay, you're going to take me out, I'm going to take you guys all down with me. And this is all the code stuff that I looked at pertaining to Jack Torrance and his world of, trying to understand what those symbols were, and it's where it's led me.
Okay, I'm
Sure,
I
go
get
ahead.
confused a lot these days.
Uh-huh.
Are you saying that Jack Torrance was a person who assassinated others? Or was that
Well,
Sharps?
he was some kind of a hired killer, but
Okay,
he
so-
was definitely not. He was definitely pro-Kennedy. I
Okay,
can tell you right now.
Well, last night we were watching what's it called, the Nightly Show?
Mm-hmm.
It was a repeat, but they had the snipers, and it was based on the movie that just came out, and these were the real life people that no longer in
Yes.
the military. And one gentleman said, "Yeah, I killed 32 people. I have no problem with doing that because it's the number of lives I saved, not how many I killed." But the other
Yeah.
gentleman said, "Yeah, I did the same thing, but when I got home, all I did was drink alcohol from 6 in the morning to 12 o'clock at night because I couldn't adjust." And I could think that a gentleman like Jack Torrance took his post-military
Oh, he did.
application to this, and this how he came about.
Yeah. This is when I wish Dennis was here, but at some point I think he'd like to chime in because he did this for 10 years. He said that Jack didn't watch TV. He wanted nothing to do with TV. He was an avid reader, and he often went out for a couple weeks at a time to be alone. And we think that that's how he regrounded himself, because he had a lot going. I mean, apparently he did do things and worked for a government. He was definitely, for my mind now, pro-Kennedy, pro-atomic energy. I would say even anti-oil. So, so probably not pro, to the Bush family and all the other people that are pro-oil. I'm just trying to understand him more and more, even long after he passed. And I do remember as a kid meeting and having something to do with him a long time ago, the Torrance family, especially Dennis and I, we talked about that.
You met them?
Yeah, a long time ago as a kid. I remember something about Jack, and he didn't scare me. There was some things that happened, and we have pictures in my family albums that match up to pictures that the Dennis Kaufman and the Torrance family have, and that blew him away when he came to live with me, and we're going through the family albums, and I said, I know who that is. He says, how could you know who that is? I said, I got the same people in my albums.
Wow.
And that's when he said, hey, I'm trying to get away from this stuff, and then we find out that we had same people, same world of people. So anyway, it's just been I would just say it's just been a mind blower just to try to understand who he was. But yeah, he would go out apparently to reground himself and regenerate, and he definitely knew how to live by navigating the skies. It's like the symbols are mostly Native American, and also constellation ID factors. How if you were to go out and not be with any machinery to tell you where you are, he was the guy who could read up there or use an upside down, I forgot what it's called, but he would look upside down if he was flying, and he could say, okay, we're going due east here because that's constellation such and such, and he knew how to do that. He knew how to survive.
Well, isn't why they call it the Zodiac Killer?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, duh.
Yes, signs and symbols that rotate above, signs and symbols that rotate. Oh, I got to bring up one thing that blew me away, and this is actually indirectly connected to the Zodiac cases. CIA, according to Jim Garrison, and the people connected somehow to Oswald and everything, they used...
You want to explain to people who are younger than us who
okay.
Jim Garrison is?
Oh, Jim Garrison was the investigator who actually tried to prosecute, I think it was Carlos Marcello and people for the death of John F. Kennedy.
And that was down in New Orleans, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, guess what they were using, which I heard about this, and I forgot about it because I watched documentaries growing up. They used a thing called a rotary phone code. And again, that's signs and symbols that rotate. And Jim Garrison had figured it out. And he said, because they were asking him, how did he trace phone numbers and then anagram them out and link them to Jack Ruby, which again, in a weird way, this is where the Zodiac stuff comes in, because Jack Ruby was represented by Mel Belli. Mel Belli got a Zodiac letter. Okay. So anyway, I looked at that and I said, oh my God, Lee Oswald was only 23. Now they made him as smart as a brainiac who knew everything about codes. But in 1995, they said he was dumb as a rock. Now it's 2014. But anyway, I had to incorporate it in there because this is the rotary telephone, and it's based on what they were using to prosecute Carlos Marcello and people like David Ferry, who then ended up dead before they were to prosecute anybody. And he used a rotary telephone code. And then people ask him, well, how does that work? He says, well, okay, on the rotary phone, if the number 6 represents the letter P, but if you turn it 45 degrees, it becomes backward looking, then it becomes a Russian Cyrillic number. And if you have a whole bunch of numbers that keep on saying something funny, And if you turn it 45 degrees, it's going to turn out to be like a Cyrillic-looking number. And then you're going to be able to trace that phone number to Russia and vice versa. And I said, oh, my God, how smart is that? Because who was going to suspect in those days that dialing the telephone, you were
Doing
you
a
were
code,
sending a
yeah.
message to Russia,
Right.
to your Russian controller.
Yeah. You know, not to digress, which I have a
Yeah.
tendency of doing. When I was in 6th grade, believe it or not, I actually wrote a final exam, a history class, on the Kennedy assassination. And a lot of what you're talking about, believe it or not, even at that very young age of mine, I wrote into my paper on the connection with Garrison, Ruby, Oswald, and the code that was involved. Even though at that time was, I didn't really have an understanding of it. So what you're saying here really does make sense, at least to me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's why when
We like to make sense around here.
It's hard.
That's been part of my my amateur view into amateur detectiveness here is to be the person that can be the liaison between the really qualified professionals and the complicated details, and then try to present it so the public can understand a little more. And with all this this code stuff, especially, I'm hearing one of the National Treasure series is to come out soon. I can't wait for that because that's my favorite movie is National Treasure. Is all the code stuff in there. But again, that's where it goes back to Jack Torrance. He apparently was a guy who knew a lot about codes and symbols and how they twist and turn. And I believe there's something in one of the Zodiac communications where they talked a couple of times where he used a rotary phone. And, maybe people didn't pick up on that. What was the numbers he's dialing, or where were the fingerprints or something? He was definitely in his own way trying to scream out who he was. And honestly, I believe that his controllers, because he had to have controllers out here or contact out here. That's why he was operating and centered in this area here.
Okay, we have to take a quick
Yes.
break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. You're on Lake County Magazine with Terry
Okay.
and Pete.
Once there were some hippies living amongst the trees, picking flowers, smoking joints, hair down to their knees. Then one day they woke up to a nasty chainsaw's roar, and a logging crew was cutting down the public land next door. Now our hippies were not happy with Mother Nature going down, so they called their local congressmen and some bureaucrats in town. But our hippies' words weren't heeded, but they swore they would prevail. So they bought some Stanley hammers and some 60-penny nails. No, they sure don't make hippies like they used to. They used to live in peace, but now they're spiking trees. No, they sure don't make hippies like they used to. No, hippies don't take no shit anymore. When the loggers left that evening, the hippies snuck into the woods, and they figured that 500 spikes should fix that forest good. And they poured sand into the crankcase for to get a dozer sick. And they put nails down on the haul road to make their tires leak a bit. No, they sure don't make hippies like they used to. They once were stoned on grass, but now they're kicking ass. No, they sure don't make hippies like they used to. No, hippies don't take no shit anymore. The next day at the work site, the loggers had a big surprise. Their dozer engine seized up, and their tires dropped like flies. And before they could raise a chainsaw, they found this note and cursed. 'Cause it read, no dice, these trees are spiked. Sign love and peace, earth first. No, they sure don't make hippies like they used to. They used to speak of peace, but now they practice what they preach. No, they sure don't make hippies like they used to. No, hippies don't take no shit anymore. No, I'll tell you folks, hippies don't take no shit anymore.
Well, you wonder why I always dress in black, why you never see bright colors on my back, and why does my appearance seem to have a somber tone? Well, there's a reason for the things that I have on. I wear the black for the poor and the beaten down, living in the hopeless, hungry side of town. I wear it for the prisoner who has long paid for his crime, but is there because he's a victim of the times. I wear the black for those who've never read or listened to the words that Jesus said about the road to happiness through love and charity. Why, you think he's talking straight to you and me? Well, we're doing mighty fine, I do suppose, in our streak of lightning cars and fancy clothes. But just so we're reminded of the ones who are held back, up front there ought to be a man in black. I wear it for the sick and lonely old, for the reckless ones whose bad trip left them cold. I wear the black in mourning for the lives that could have been. Each week we lose 100 fine young men. And I wear it for the thousands who have died, believing that the Lord was on their side. I wear it for another 100,000 who have died, believing that we all were on their side. Well, there's things that never will be right, I know, and things need changing everywhere you go. But till we start to make a move to make a few things right, you'll never see me wear a suit of white. Oh, I'd love to wear a rainbow every day and tell the world that everything's okay. But I'll try to carry off a little darkness on my back till things are brighter. I'm the man in black.
All right. Until things are brighter, I'm the man in black. Well, I'm the woman in black. You might notice if you see me out there in the big wide world that I wear a lot of black. And for the same reasons as Johnny Cash, when this world stops having, death and destruction and all this stuff, I'll stop wearing black.
If Dennis is listening right now, even at some point, he's going to faint. 'Cause
is that his favorite song?
Johnny Cash. Everything.
Great.
Johnny Cash.
And
He's
the song
he's
before that with
same
the
thing.
two S-bombs was Daryl Cherney, and they sure don't make hippies like they used to.
No, they don't.
We're going to try to get him to come down for our festival, too, that we're going to do in July.
Wow.
Yeah, we're talking to him. And I just got word that Without a Net is up for coming in. too.
Really?
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Herb just offered.
hopefully with Bill.
Yeah, I would think it would be. Cool.
So any more that we
Okay,
like
so-
to cover today?
Yeah, let's go back to the
yeah.
wiki so we can do another chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Santa Barbara.
Okay, go for it. Okay.
In a Vallejo Times-Herald story appearing on November 13th, 1972, Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office Bill Baker, retired, postulated that the murders of a young couple in northern Santa Barbara County might have been the work of the Zodiac Killer. On June 4th, 1963, high school senior Robert Domingos and fiancée Linda Edwards were shot dead on a beach near Lampock, having skipped school that day for the senior ditch day. Police believed that the assailant attempted to bind the victims, but when they freed themselves and attempted to flee, the killer shot them repeatedly in the back and chest with a .22 caliber weapon. The killer then placed their bodies in a small shack and tried unsuccessfully to burn it down. After the Pines card, the Zodiac remained silent for nearly 3 years. The Chronicle then received a letter from the Zodiac postmarked January 29, 1974, praising The Exorcist as the best satirical comedy I've ever seen. The letter included a snippet of verse from the Mikado and an unusual symbol at the bottom that has remained unexplained by researchers. Zodiac concluded the letter with a new score, me equals 37, SFPD equals 0. Okay, so what do we know about this unusual symbol?
When you anagram or rearrange it, it says JFK.
Really?
Yeah.
And you need to
That's
go
what-
closer to the microphone.
So yeah, okay. So I'm looking for it because I said, "Oh my goodness, the ink blots and so on and so forth." And you know, now everything's. I really, honestly, about a year and a half ago, when Annette Bardo and I were talking, you know, quietly, and we would run into some things, and we say, "Isn't that strange? Isn't this, you know, about Jack? Isn't that where Lee Harvey Oswald, you know, trained in Sugi, Japan?"
So
and
many
stuff like that?
coincidences, yeah.
So, and I was like, and she started talking to me a little bit more about JFK cases and stuff, and we knew about Garth Penn making this link years ago to possible code stuff to what Zodiac was using. I didn't want to go there, okay, but you know, handwriting was showing things to her that were kind of like, you know, this is kind of a little bit interesting because it seems to be linking towards, you know, JFK stuff. So, but that was.
But do you have
farthest
that
from
we
my
could
mind.
see, or while you're
Yeah.
looking for that, I can read another section.
Oh, I can just show it because I.
And was there any comments on the Santa Barbara attack? Was there any more insight on that?
All we know is Dominguez Roberts. It may have some weird connections somehow to me, to Chaco Canyon region and the history of you know, who took over parts of the country.
Why
at the
would that be
time.
related to them?
Because a lot of symbols that Jack was using, you know, points in the direction of where they were doing a lot of training for the space race and so on and so forth. It's kind of complicated, but I was wondering, why would he have done, or somebody close to them have done the Dominguez, and so that's kind of like. one
But
of
would
those
you say
things that's
this
on
is
the
in his
fence.
MO and his typical way of murdering people?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
So
but
it
these
did look
people
like it.
pretty much, like they said, they were able to get away, but it was like he was leaving a message behind, you know, of how the place was going to be, you know, burned down, but it wasn't, and then they got out. The long story short, I guess for me, is when I found out about that area was, it was part of an area where a lot of Native Americans were told, you know, basically in the 1868 treaty that they were using even during the occupation of Alcatraz, which Mel Belli was very famous for. You know, same era, 68 to 71. That the lands that were not being used, that were being dropped by the parks and so on and so forth were supposed to revert back to the Native Americans. And this area was, I believe, one of those regions where it was supposed to, according to the treaty that was supposed to end all peace treaties of 1868, and that's how come they were using that also from actually in 1963 they used it. There was a brief occupation of Alcatraz up there. Same thing. They said, according to the treaty, you're no longer using this. It's supposed to go back to the people who were here originally. And I think that that's where there's a connection, where they were in 1963 understanding the treaties, the history. You know, if you're not using the lands anymore, if the lots are vacant and you can't sell them, according to that treaty, it's supposed to revert to the original people that were there. And what happened in, I think it was almost 80 years earlier at that same area where the Dominguez couple died, was there was buildings burned and a lot of horrible things happened to Native Americans to take over that property.
Okay.
So it could be just one of those unusual links, because we're talking about the Navajo code talkers who were still in 1963 being kept secret.
Right, that's
and
true.
And without them,
we would have never won World War II.
There would be no Los Angeles in 1963.
Right.
You know.
So that was the last letter that they received that they can confirm was the last letter, correct?
Yeah, but let me show you what I was blown away once I said, okay, let's see if JFK can be made out of that.
Yeah, I wanted to see if you had that character.
And I know I have it in here somewhere. But
while you're looking for that, let me go into some of the other letters that were received after this, but they're saying suspicious authorship was of further communications sent by the public to members of the news media. Some contained similar characteristics of previous Zodiac writings. The Chronicle received a letter postmarked February 14, 1974, informing the editor that the initials for the Symbionese Liberation Army spelled out an Old Norse word meaning kill. Okay. However, the handwriting was not authenticated as the Zodiac's. A letter to the Chronicle postmarked May 8th, 1974, featured a complaint that the movie Badlands was murder glorification and asked the paper to cut its advertisement, signed only a citizen. The handwriting, tone, and surface irony were all similar to early Zodiac communications. The Chronicle subsequently received an anonymous letter postmarked July 8, 1974, complaining about one of its columnists, Marco Spinelli. The letter was signed The Red Phantom, Red with Rage. The Zodiac's authorship of this letter is also debated. A letter dated April 24, 1978 was initially deemed authentic but was declared a hoax less than 3 months later by 3 experts. Dave Toschi, the SFPD homicide detective who had worked the case since the Stein murder, was thought to have forged the letter because author Armistead Maupin believed the letter to be similar to fan mail he received in 1976, which he believed was authored by Toschi. While he admitted to writing the fan mail, Toschi denied forging the Zodiac letter and was eventually cleared of any charges. The authenticity of this letter remains unverified. On March 3, 2007, an American Greetings Christmas card sent to the Chronicle postmarked 1990 in Eureka had recently been discovered in their photo files by editorial assistant Daniel King. Inside the envelope with the card was a photocopy of 2 U.S. postal keys on a magnetic chain. The handwriting on the envelope resembles Zodiac's print, but was declared inauthentic by forensic document examiner Lloyd Cunningham. However, not all Zodiac experts agree with Cunningham's analysis. There is no return address on the envelope, nor is his cross-circle signature to be found. The card itself is unmarked. The Chronicle turned over all the material to the Vallejo Police Department for further analysis. So, any comment on those letters?
Well, when you bring up about the Phantom letter, that's where Nanette Bartle can definitely chime in, because she done a lot of research about the text. A lot of people before us, even before the internet, believe that it might have something to do with clues to the Texarkana Phantom murders, and Jack Torrance is from the Texarkana region.
Oh, interesting.
And
So before he came out to California, he was in that area during the
Yeah.
time when these murders happened.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and then then again, I mean, instead of it being something super mysterious now, when you see what was going on in those regions and the space race and so on, and it starts to make a lot of sense. There was a lot of Cold War activity going on. So we can get into that in a second, but here it is.
Okay.
I thought, okay, let's try and see if we
Which
can make,
one is it? You got
this
to
is-
point
this is-
out what the character is.
This
that
is
that's the actual letter?
yeah, this is the
And the
actual
symbol's
letter.
at the bottom. So when
And-
she holds it back up, would you zoom in on the bottom character for us?
Yeah. I said, let's see if this makes JFK, and it does. So I said, how simple, okay.
Can you go any further in? Don't worry about the letter part. Just focus
Yeah.
on the character.
Well, the reason why I used the letter from Ray Smith's book, it's the most clearest and the
Yeah.
most closest to the actual crime letter sent. You can't get this even through Freedom of Information Act.
And you say that translates, is that a Navajo script or what is
no,
the...
this is just, they said this is ink blots done a certain way
Okay.
and shapes.
Well, I can see the reverse K. I
Yeah.
can see the
Yeah.
F. I don't see any J anywhere.
Oh, the
Uh,
J is the front, the far right character. If you reverse that and hold it up to a mirror, I bet that's what it would say.
Yeah, but
That's
but
interesting.
You connect the dot, all the pieces,
Yeah.
all the puzzle. It's just like made into an ink blot puzzle.
I'll show the other
pieces.
side of your paper. You've got it kind of written out
There,
there.
is it? Okay,
Yeah.
Are we seeing it?
Yeah.
There we go. Then it says JFK.
Interesting.
I said
Very interesting. So, okay, so now we're going to move on to the current status of the
Okay,
investigation.
before we do that,
Yes.
this is going to very simplistic verification of any type of document.
Go for it.
Did they go for fingerprinting?
Yeah.
That's what we were wondering.
I'm sure
I
they
mean, you
have
can
to.
analyze writing all you want by experts, but back
there's the
then, I
fin-
mean, technology.
The
you know,
fingerprints is right here, and we've asked them, and that's why I said the current events. I've been waiting for a phone call back from.
Yeah, the San Francisco Police Department. Are you going to go down and see them? or?
If I'll go down there,
But they haven't returned your call.
No, not yet. But they also haven't cleared their voicemail, so that's actually a
Mm-hmm.
good. No, that's actually a good sign. They're probably like, okay, because I laid out the cases just like I laid it out here. You know, his JWs and JWTs were there always, and he was born JW Torrance Jr.
okay, so did they do fingerprint testing?
They say they did, but there's the fingerprints all over this letter. The I am in the Paul Stein letter.
Because if any of these people were involved in the military or whatever, they would have
Yeah.
fingerprints on file.
Yes. Well, see, that's where it gets even more interesting, because when you try to go into, even if you're working for the FBI, if this guy was working for CIA, the FBI can't really cross over into what the CIA's doing.
Well, they could
you
obviously.
know, they will try, but if they're trying to keep things secret.
well, if they're truly,
Yeah.
how do I want to say it politely, spies,
yeah.
then their jackets or their files disappear.
Yeah, see? So, but we got the fingerprints. I'm trying to find
Okay,
it
well,
again.
we've
Well,
looked
we
at
know
those.
it's
We
there.
looked at those in another show. So I want to
Yeah.
we only got a few more minutes left.
Yeah.
So let me continue on. In April 2004, the SFPD marked the case inactive, citing caseload pressure and resource demands. However, they reopened their case sometime before March 2007. In 2007, a man named Dennis Kaufman claimed that his stepfather, Jack Tarrance, was the Zodiac. Kaufman turned in several items over to the FBI, including a hood similar to the one worn by the Zodiac. According to news sources, DNA analysis conducted by the FBI on the items was deemed inconclusive in 2010. Now, you say that it did match a cousin or some other relative, correct?
I believe it's one of the stamps, and I believe it's on the Halloween card, came back to a partial match to Danny Reynolds.
Who's his
and
nephew?
And Jack Torrance was married to Doris Reynolds at the time. During
But
the
was
late
he a blood
1960s.
relative of Terrence?
No, but he
No,
was-
so then there's no way that could be.
no.
You
no,
can't
he
have
was-
DNA match if you're not related.
No. It was a partial DNA match on the stamp.
But to this other guy who's
Yeah.
not related to Jack, so that
Yeah,
wouldn't.
but he was the stepson at the time.
So Jack might have said, "Well, put a
Yeah,
stamp
can you
on
link-
this
can you
for
link-
me."
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I hear
so that it's really impressive, powerful circumstantial evidence for to have that happen.
That's true. Okay, so Kaufman's claims have later been widely discredited. He claimed to have incriminating rolls of film taken by his stepfather. The photos allegedly showed victims of the crimes. Kaufman later published some of these photos on his own webpage. The photos were very small, had low resolution, and were so blurry that nothing could be positively identified. An associate of Kaufman's, Nanette Bartow, who received her forensic document examining certificate from an unaccredited school, claimed to have matched Jack Terrence's handwriting with that of the Zodiac killer. However, in 2010, the FBI's head document examiner at Quantico deemed the handwriting inconclusive. So that still doesn't say it wasn't him, in my book, because everything's inconclusive.
Well, see, that's where there's a lot of argument as to whether some of this information is true or not. Because if you're getting it from Wikipedia, you're getting it from sources that
well, that's why I say I don't take that as saying it's not true, because they're not saying it wasn't true. They're just saying it was inconclusive. Because there's still opportunities there to, prove it is true.
Here's the thing that happened with True Crime with Aphrodite Jones. And we finally got the snippet at the it's like the missing link, the Darwin missing link. Everybody that's been wanting to keep these cases cold for so long because they had their books going, and it takes 10 years. Some guy had a book that he wanted it to go. It took him 10 years to get it. But anyway, according to True Crime with Aphrodite Jones producers, their FBI sources told them that the handwriting was a match. And you guys are producers of shows, everything I'm saying, you're trying to vet it as quickly as possible, or otherwise I'm going to see off to the side, don't go there. So they had to run it through all their legal teams and everything to make sure that this was true. Mm-hmm. You can't be NBC Universal and say something unless your legal team was able to verify that it was true through your FBI sources and all kinds of things. NBC's been around.
Yeah, ask Brian Williams.
Okay, yeah. So let me go ahead because we're running out of time. In 2009, a lawyer named Robert Tarbox, who in August 75 was disbarred by the California Supreme Court for failure to pay some clients, said that in 1972 a merchant mariner walked into his office and confessed to him that he was the Zodiac killer. The seemingly lucid seaman, whose name Tarbox would not reveal due to confidentiality, described his crimes briefly but persuasively enough to convince Tarbox. The man said he was trying to stop himself from his opportunistic murder spree but never returned to see Tarbox again. Mm-hmm. Tarbox took out a full-page ad in the Vallejo Times-Herald that he claimed would clear the name of Arthur Lee Allen as a killer, his only reason for revealing the story 30 years after the fact. Robert Graysmith, the author of several books on the Zodiac, said Tarbox's story was entirely plausible. Retired police handwriting expert Lloyd Cunningham, who worked the Zodiac case for decades, added, "They gave me banana boxes full of Allen's writing, and none of his writing even came close to the Zodiac, nor did DNA extracted from the envelopes on the Zodiac letters come close to Arthur Lee Allen." Mm-hmm. In 2009, an episode of the History Channel television series Mystery Quest looked at newspaper editor Richard Gaikowski, 1936 to he died in 2004. During the time of the murders, Gaikowski worked for Good Times, a San Francisco counterculture newspaper. His appearance resembles a composite sketch, and Nancy Slover, the Vallejo police dispatcher, who was contacted by the Zodiac shortly after the Blue Rock Springs attack, has identified a recording of Gaikowski's voice as being the same as the Zodiac's. Additional circumstantial evidence exists, but cannot definitively connect Gaikowski to the murders. And then the case is open in Napa County and also in the city of Riverside. Retired police detective Steve Hodel argues in his book, The Black Dahlia Avenger, that his father, George Hill Hodel Jr., was the Black Dahlia killer, whose victims include Elizabeth Short. The book caused the release of previously suppressed files and wire recordings by the L.A. District Attorney's Office of his father, which showed that he was a prime suspect in Short's murder. The L.A. District Attorney subsequently wrote a letter, which is published in the revised edition, stating that if he was still alive, he would be prosecuted for the crimes. So it's pretty much clear that maybe he's not connected to the Black Dahlia.
But here's what, okay, go ahead.
Let me finish. In a follow-up book, Hodel argued a circumstantial case that his father was also the Zodiac killer based upon a police sketch, the similarity of the style of the Zodiac letters to the Black Dahlia Avenger letters, and question document examination. Okay.
Well, what I was getting at is over the years we started noticing that Hodel was also possibly involved some, I would say, some intel things, and so that's where it kind of connects in a weird way. You know, you got these people that are saying,
You know, this could be all
Yeah.
related to the MK Ultra mind
Yeah.
control stuff, where these people just get
Yeah.
programmed to kill, and that
Yeah.
could explain exactly what's been going on.
explains a lot of
Although
things that
Black
you see.
Dahlia started way early like in the 1930s. I don't think
No,
MK
1940s.
1940s. I
She
don't
was
think
46,
MK Ultra
47.
was actually in
yeah.
effect, was it?
Yeah, they were. They actually, they say they trace it back with the discovery of LSD, because they found out it could really control the mind, and you know, and under right circumstances, you know, for scientists, they can say, wow, you know, I can control this person to do this, that, and the other. They won't even know it. Black Dahlia is actually pretty interesting, because we're gonna have to cover that, I guess.
That'll
next
be
time.
another show. Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to get working on this so we can finish this up.
Sure.
Okay, so on February 9th, 2011, America's Most Wanted featured a story about the Zodiac Killer. A picture has recently surfaced of known Zodiac victim Darlene Ferrin and a man who closely resembles the composite sketch formed based on eyewitness descriptions of the killer. Police believe the photo was taken in San Francisco in the summer of 66 or 67. Police hope someone can identify the man in the photo. It has been suspected that the man in the photo is Darlene Ferrin's ex-husband, James Phillips, but this has not been confirmed. Former California Highway Patrol officer Lyndon Lafferty said the Zodiac Killer was 91-year-old Solano County man who he called by the pseudonym George Russell Tucker. Using a group of retired law enforcement officers called Mandamus 7, Lafferty discovered Tucker and a cover-up for why he was not pursued. Tucker died in February of 2012 and was not named because he was not considered a suspect by police. In February 2014, it was reported that a man named Louis Myers had confessed to a friend in 2001 that he was the Zodiac Killer after learning that he was dying from cirrhosis of the liver. And that was the one that was on the news just recently. He requested that his friend Randy Kenny go to the police upon his death. Myers died in 2002, but Kenny allegedly had difficulties getting officers to cooperate and take claims seriously. There are several potential connections between Myers and the Zodiac case. He attended the same high school as its victims, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. Myers also allegedly worked in the same restaurant as victim Darlene Ferrin. Myers also had access to the same sort of military boot whose print was found at the Lake Berryessa crime scene. Furthermore, during the 71 to 73 period when no Zodiac letters were received, Myers was stationed overseas with the military. Kenny says that Myers confessed he targeted couples because he had a bad breakup with a girlfriend. While officers associated with the case are skeptical, they believe the story is credible enough to investigate. In May 2014, a book written by Gary Stewart was released, claiming his biological father, Earl Van Best Jr., was the Zodiac Killer, but without any confirmed evidence. So that finishes up the Wikipedia version of the story. And, you know, it's very interesting that there's so many suspects, and that even with DNA evidence, they still have not been able to tie any one person to these crimes.
They keep on going back to, because they tried to erase Jack Torrance being backed by the FBI, you know, because once people find out, then they say, oh, look at this overwhelming evidence of Jack Torrance, including partial DNA and DNA inconclusive, and they look at that, and then there's another thing about Jack Torrance that people don't know about, but he had a lumbering gait, and if you understand really quickly, there's also two different heights of witnesses saying, oh, the Zodiac guy I saw was 5'8", 5'9", and then some of them say he was 6 feet. Well, Jack Torrance was born with one leg shorter than the other. That's what also convinced lots of people. He's made the best suspect ever. And there's really nobody
I mean,
else.
your opinion is that out of all these suspects that we just went through, he has the most in common
then you got
with everything.
Now you got the decoded stuff using the keys to his digraph system, which MK Ultra is a digraph, and we're talking Cold War stuff. It's saying his name in the 340, the 408, pieces of the 408,
No.
and so on and so on. And then you also look, and you try not to look at the JFK connection at first because you're thinking, oh my God, there's so much taboo with that.
No, Sydney.
And the Zodiac cases, but they do seem to be connected. But they cross. It's not like they're just, like it just ends with JFK stuff. It's just Cold War, intel, codes, how they were used, and symbols that rotate and turn, and then you make another message after that and keep on going.
Yeah, it's
And
really
that's what
fascinating.
yeah.
And I really thank you for all the time and energy that you've
Hey,
put
thank
into
you.
this. I really hope that
I
one
just-
day we find out who this killer was
Well,
because he devastated so many lives.
I'm hoping that the SFPD meets with either me and or Nanette Bardo, but Nanette, it's always been the handwriting, whether it linked or not, and she's got much more after 2010 that shows everything. It's like, how many more court approved and legal process and forensics approved proof do you need?
Right,
Especially
right.
since she's got the snippet of 2010's Aphrodite Jones saying, according to our sources at the FBI, it is a match, and it remains to be seen whether they're going to, close the cases or not.
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank
really appreciate all the energy you did here
Oh, I
and
love
carrying our viewers and listeners
Because
through
some-
this horrible story. And
Because what happens is
someday we may get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Okay, my dear.
We'll cover some a little bit more next week, I hope. And
Well, I don't know how much more is there left to cover. We'll talk about it off the air.
well, let's see if SFPD comes.
Yes, if they do, then we have another chapter.
But thank
Okay,
you.
we're going to take a break. Thank you very much for coming, and stick around. You're on Lake County Magazine with Terry.
And Pete, the tax guy.
Thank you.
Don't care how long you're gone. I don't care how long you stay. It's good kind treatment. Bring you home someday. Someday, baby, ain't no trouble for me.
Turn the volume up. We're back with the music still in the background. That's kind of cool.
Rock and roll,
So,
baby.
it's Lake County
Little bit of
Magazine.
yeah, sorry, hon.
That's all right. Go for it. It's your show.
It's your show too, darling. It's Trouble No More by the Allman Brothers.
Trouble No More. That's great English.
Hmm. Well, when you live in Peachtree Country,
And
you
stoned.
talk like that. Yes.
Is that like patois?
No.
Oh.
You can. Well, it
Yeah,
depends on
kinda,
what
sorta.
part of Georgia you're in. It could be
That
just
good
like
point.
patois, and you won't understand a thing.
That's very true.
Yes.
So anyway, we're back. We got a couple other subjects we want to talk about, especially the Clear Lake fiasco.
Boy, fiasco is a great word to describe what happened that night.
Okay, I'm going to brag for a second, folks, because we did stream the meeting live, and there's about 300, give or take, people in attendance at the meeting, but we had over 400 households listening,
That's
which
amazing.
we thought was great because it shows you how many people were sincerely interested in the meeting and the outcome of the meeting. I would say probably 90% of the listeners were extremely pissed off. So
Exactly.
take it from there.
That's the problem. So, I'm hearing music. Let me
Yeah,
stop.
it's actually kind of nice in the background.
Yeah, but they can't hear it, and it's just annoying to me. It's distracting. It's not more than it is annoying. So,
So much for multitasking.
stop it. Will you? You give me a hard time on a day when I'm really not in the mood. My sense of humor level is like not existing.
Well, as I said to you, when you come back from a weekend tromp,
right.
it takes a week for you to recover. So I need to harass you.
Well, that's just the way it is. I'm getting old, and it takes longer to recover from these things
You
than
said
it
that,
used
not
to.
me.
So anyway, let's get back to the business. So the subject at hand at the Clear Lake City Council meeting was the initiation of a new ordinance for cannabis, and what they did was they created an ordinance that effectively outlaws cannabis completely: usage, storage, processing, growing, everything.
Explain to
I will,
Okay.
within the city limits. So the way that they're doing that is in the ordinance, they have a definition of cultivation. In that definition of cultivation, they say that every part of the plant after the harvest that's dried or processed into oil or put into hashish or any other process is still considered cultivation. Therefore, if cultivation is banned, then that means that there is no use of cannabis allowed within the city limits for personal use. Dispensaries will not be able to grow their own or have any portion of the plant available within their dispensary, and they are effectively banning cannabis throughout the entire city limits.
That's based on our strict interpretation of the
That's
definition.
how the law is written.
Right.
Right.
And I don't know if I can give enough credit to the council to
They probably aren't even
understand-
aware of it. As a matter of
Exactly.
fact, Bruno Sabatier only noticed it after the meeting and after he reread it and really looked at the wording and realized what the wording was saying.
Without sounding like a conspiracist, we think that potentially, maybe hypothetically, that the city manager and the chief of police and potentially maybe the attorney, though I
And
don't
the
think
mayor.
so, and the mayor kind of rigged the language. So in essence, when they
Hoping no one would notice.
comes into law, that they can actually say, "Oh, you're in city limits. Oh, you're busted because you have cannabis on you."
Exactly.
And the impact of this ordinance on the dispensaries is even worse because they're not allowed to grow. Therefore,
It doesn't ban dispensaries. It just bans them access to the medicine.
Right. So you can have a dispensary, but you can't sell the product. You can't grow the product, and you can't.
And
have
what
the
is their
product.
big answer to this ban? Get it from the dispensaries.
So it's a catch-22, folks. I really, I don't think the council's aware of that, but I do think that the police chief and the city manager and their little group, i.e. the mayor, are fully aware of this because they are truly anti-cannabis. So, but the meeting was very interesting. I said my wife and I were filming it, but listening to the people that came up during public comment, especially Vietnam and Desert Storm veterans, people who have some very serious ailments, and how they were using cannabis products to heal themselves, both, I think, physically and mentally. And sometimes the mental part is a lot more effective than the physical part. And watching these people talk and then watching the council members. Um, some of them just didn't give a damn.
Oh yeah,
I
what
mean,
was
they
it?
just
Russell Purdock was in his cell phone or his iPad or whatever it was, while 200 people went in front of him and begged for him not to say no to this, and he ignored every one of them.
Exactly.
It was so sad.
And Joyce Overton, I think, was paying attention. Bruno obviously was. The mayor was just becoming a dictator.
She was like the queen
Yes.
in Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah.
She was just vicious.
And honestly, this wasn't our interpretation only. Everyone we've talked to who attended or watched that meeting had the exact same opinion, that she was royalty and she was ruling on her subjects. Last time I checked, we were still a democracy. Maybe in her own mind, she's the queen. Maybe a king. I don't know. Sorry.
You have to ask her husband about that.
Well, we're not going to go down that road either. Okay?
But I was really surprised because Joey Lewis was totally pissed.
Yes, he was.
And he posted on Facebook right after that about how the city council took an ordinance that they spent tons of time on, threw it out the door without any respect.
Instead of trying to improve the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things they could have done to make it better.
Yep. Absolutely. They could have had better enforcement. They could have had people maybe, quote, register, pay a small fee so they can generate some revenues. But no, they just want to screw around and ban everything. And basically, it's going to have a major impact on the economy of Clear Lake. I'm sorry, it is. And, I don't care if you make your money underground or you're being legitimate, you still spend your money. And then you're going to be spending it in Clear Lake. I mean, let's face it, Walmart, McDonald's, Carl's Jr., all those stores are there. Safeway, grocery outlet. They spend their money there. And what's going to happen? Those sales tax dollars are going to disappear.
That's right. And not only that, the citizens are motivating to do a boycott. So that's something that could possibly happen. It's one of the options that they're looking at. So any business that supports the ordinance that the city supports could be a victim of this. And that could hurt because not only are they losing the money from the people who might be making money producing medicine, now they're actually going to be losing money
sales
from citizens and sales from citizens. So it has a double whammy effect.
Right. And I think there's certain, and I'm not going to name them on air, but there are certain businesses that really stand out who are 100% total anti-cannabis, and they feel that it has a major impact on certain aspects of the economy within Clear Lake. And I'll just say one realtor came up to speak and was blaming everything on cannabis. And the man is so far off base that it's just sickening because
the fear factor in this thing is
exactly.
just disgusting. And it's shameful because these are mostly adult people that we're talking to and that we're talking. And the things that they were saying was like, again, this has been legal since, what year, 96 or something? It was legalized in California. You would think by now people would be accustomed to it and, accepting of it and realizing the benefits of it. But instead, they look at it like it's the devil's weed and, it's reefer madness all over again.
Right. And one of the major comments we've seen on Facebook or in talking to other individuals was that we're trying to understand from a legality point of view why the emphasis during these conversations was the big grows, the smells, the odors, the presentation, people coming in to potentially buy houses or look at tourism, and they see these, quote, big grows. They don't see the 2 or 3 plants in a residential area being grown in the backyard. And yet that's who they're blaming, is the people growing the 2 or 3 plants. Why isn't Clear Lake Police Department, Chief Clausen, doing something about the big grows? His side of, well, is a code enforcement, it's not a criminal offense. Well, I got news for you guys. If someone's growing 50 to 100 to 300 plants, it ain't for medicine, dudes. So why isn't he going in, getting a search warrant, and going in to visit these properties and see what's behind these grows? We know for a fact there's probably, well, I don't know for a fact, let me take that back. Based on other busts in this county, we can make an assumption that there could be some other form of illegal activity going on, be it guns, be it other type of drugs going down or whatever. So why aren't they concentrating on the big growths? Why are they ignoring that? Yet they're picking on the small guy. I could come up with some more ideas, but I'm not going to say it on the air. I don't want any libel. So I just don't get this whole thing that the city's going through. It's so simple to put in a proper ordinance that has enforcement capability at code enforcement level, having some guidelines on how to register or how to make yourself legal, have some basic fees for registration, posting your notices in a discreet manner, and generating more revenues for the city. The city's flat broke. The city is one of the poorest cities in the nation, in our state, and they're on the verge of bankruptcy.
It's
So,
true.
I don't get
It's
it.
true. And they're doing nothing to create jobs or create. Emerald Growers Association meeting yesterday. A gentleman was at the meeting whose family came here in 1857. One of the oldest family here, ex-law enforcement, used to be a cop. He's now a patient. And his anger and disappointment with the people that he's known his entire life and his grandfather's life and his great-grandfather's life was just shameful. He is so disappointed with the way that the people here have reacted to this situation. Instead of seeing it as a benefit and a help to the economy and all the different things it could be, he just can't even believe where we're standing right now. We're going to actually have him as a guest on our show in the next couple weeks so we can hear his story and also hear the kind of things that he's going through right now. So I don't know. It's just really sad.
Well, I think, again, when we talk about Emerald Growers Association.
Yeah, so the meeting last night was held at the Oddfellows Hall, and it had a pretty good turnout. I know a lot of people out there that were involved with the Green Farmers, that were involved with the No One In committee, that were involved in the Yes on O committee, are kind of burnt out because there was a lot of money raised and we didn't get the results we wanted. Well, now this group, Emerald Growers Association, will have a support system that farmers and patients can look to help them get resources, to help them develop sustainable practices in their farming, to help them educate, to help them in many different ways. And a chapter has been formed here in Lake County, so anyone interested can contact us here at our office at 701-6416, and we will direct them to the membership team. And the group is going to be very active in responding to the Clear Lake situation. So we're looking forward to seeing how things develop on that, because there are several things in the works that we can't speak about right now that actually could not only change Clear Lake, but change the entire state of California and how they react to this situation. So everyone's pretty sure in 2016 it's going to be legalized. Many of the bills that are on the ballot for that do say that the powers for counties and cities could be taken away to do enforcement based on their rules as opposed to state rules. So it looks like the state may actually have guidelines that will be set for cities and counties that they will not be able to hinder with, although zoning could still be an issue. So that's why it's possible that this Clear Lake case could be a precedent setter, and we could see some really good things come out of this.
Can we mention what our plan of attack is when the ordinance is passed in Clear Lake?
Well, if they, because I think it's really important we let people know this. If the ordinance on the second reading is passed as it stands right now, the first reaction is going to be at the meeting, so we encourage everyone to come to the meeting. There will be petitions to sign. There will be a referendum to take it off the books.
And how many
signatures
do we need?
We need 268 signatures.
Verified signatures.
That's registered voters. But I want to see us get 500 or so we know if some of those are not real signatures that we've got to back up.
Personally, I want to get as many as possible to
Exactly.
show the attitude.
Exactly.
And yes.
Exactly. We need to make a serious statement with this petition to say that we are not in favor of this, that this is the minority trying to run the majority. They think they're majority. They are the majority. Well, we had a private petition that went through change.org. How many signatures on that, Mark? 300.
Last I saw, it's
close to 400 signatures. They had about 150 on theirs.
Right.
So it's pretty obvious who the majority
Right.
is at this point.
And if we do collect enough signatures, that means that the new ordinance will not go into effect, and that there will be actually a special election held in November for the public in Clear Lake to vote on the ordinance that is being proposed by the referendum or the current ordinance that the council wants to implement. So those who are already planting or have planted,
Yes.
don't give up hope yet.
No, because if your plants are in the ground, there may be an injunction to stop the ordinance anyway if it gets set in, so that this crop that's in the ground right now, matter of fact, I encourage everybody, put your crops in the grounds right now so that when it's passed on the 26th, you have your plants are already in the ground. An injunction, just like they did in Lake County 2 years ago, an injunction will stop any enforcement for anything that's in the ground before the ordinance.
Now, would you recommend people adhere to the prior ordinance?
No, yeah, they have
Yes.
to follow the ordinance that's in
Right.
place right now.
Right. And I also suggest if you have a camera or your cell phone, take pictures of your plants in the ground and have a date stamp on them. That way you can
Absolutely.
substantiate that you did comply.
Exactly.
So
So there will be another meeting of the Emerald Growers Association. We're not sure of the venue. We will notify you in advance. I believe it's set for March 17th. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, so we will let you know about that meeting as well. And there will be some other activities that we will be informing you about regarding that situation.
Where's the next council meeting being held at? Do you know yet?
As far as I know, it's going to be in the regular chambers.
Okay.
Because I think they think that nobody's going to show
So that
up.
means we can't go live because they won't let us use their internet.
Well, we might be able to talk them into it after this last time because it went so peacefully.
Yes. Okay.
So we'll see what we can do. There is a lot of prejudice against Lake County Magazine within the city council, and that's because the mayor is also on the PEG board, and the PEG station has become our mortal enemy,
They're useless.
unfortunately.
Let's put it like it is. They're useless.
And they just feel like that it would kill them to work together with us. We have offered numerous times to train them, to let them use our equipment, to help them out in any ways we can. And Ed Roby and Denise have continuously rebuffed our offers. So I'm just so disgusted with all of them. I can't even.
Have you
speak.
seen on Channel 8 yet their version of the meeting?
No.
That's interesting. I don't think I
I
haven't
bet
seen
it's
it either.
edited. I guarantee you, out of the 200 people that spoke, they probably only show about 10.
So, and the young lady, and I'm being facetious, that operates the camera for PEG.
Her name is Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's not our Beth. It's a
No,
different
it's
one.
not. She, and again, I don't want to be necessarily critical of somebody else, but her camera angle and the sound and everything really, it was amateurish. That's all I can say. And that's what the problem with PEG TV is right now, is that they're not utilizing the systems the way they need to be done. And that's why they're a little bit jealous or competitive against us, because even though we're not perfect by any means, we have the right equipment. We know exactly how to do the job properly. And our video productions are pretty much, I would think, the best quality in Lake County.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, and that's why we may even be going further than anyone ever thought, sooner than expected with our channel after meetings that we've had with several other media outlets, and we've got some big surprises in the works on that.
Hopefully,
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag until we're actually going there, but we're going there, folks. Just know it.
Yes. So, anyway, what else about Clear Lake?
Well, that pretty much does it. You know, the sad thing is that this whole thing was generated by a neighbor of the mayor's who happens to be friends of ours, and I made an announcement at the meeting and let her know that this person was the person who supplies medicine for us to be able to make into the full extract cannabis oil that we use to cure cancer. And we've had 15 patients go into remission with this oil. We know it works. And yet, by doing what they're doing, they're going to be denying that product to those people, basically causing death sentences to everyone. And I let her know that loud and clear.
Right. What was interesting about the meeting?
It's a
with
personal thing, though. It's a
It
total
is.
vendetta.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the community.
He's growing 6 plants, but they're the size of a Volkswagen.
He
So
knows how to grow.
unfortunately, he's a good grower, but this made them angry.
Yeah, these are the same people that flew a drone over our friend's property to find out about his plants. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he actually flew a drone.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how we got pictures of the plants and all that good stuff. So, anyway, the other point I would like to make on the meeting itself is, number one, Jeff Smith, who is the county supervisor for Clear Lake, was sitting there with his head down, unless he was looking directly at a friend or a anti-cannabis person. The meeting was conducted like the Board of Supervisors conducted their meetings when the cannabis issue was on the forefront, be it at the fairgrounds or in the chambers. And it was the same attitude. Oh, we want to listen to you. Yeah, come on down. It's all public hearing. You have a right to comment. But all the commentary by the public was just totally ignored. And they did what they thought was in their best interest, not in the best interest of the town. And it was like mini-me being the city council of Clear Lake versus the big boys, the county. It was the exact same operation.
It's very obvious that they're all in collusion to outlaw cannabis. My feeling on this is, my theory is that this is an orchestrated effort by the supporters of the wine industry to eliminate the pot grows so that the pot people sell out at a reduced cost. They lower the property values that way. They pick up the properties at very low rate, and as these people move to Oregon and other more friendly states, and then they end up turning those properties into vineyards. And pretty soon, we're going to be looking at nothing but vineyards in this county, right. And that makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah. I'm sorry.
What was interesting, the gentleman that my wife was referring to earlier, the ex-law enforcement gentleman, during our meeting last night with the Emerald Growers Association, I got it right that time, basically said, I've lived in this county for blah, blah, blah number of years. He said, I've seen the wine industry take over. And I've said this many times. My wife has said this many times. He said, there's no job opportunities with the wine industry. The money does not stay in Lake County. We don't get sales tax revenues because they're agriculture. We hardly get any real estate taxes coming back our way. We don't have any other form of income coming off the wine industry, yet they cater to them. I don't get it, folks. And here's an older gentleman who's been around here a hell of a lot longer than most of us. And I'll call him a good old boy for better choice of words, because he's an older gentleman. He was a law enforcement officer. His family's been around for generations, and he's the one saying this wine industry sucks. They're not good for this county. So I just found it very interesting that here someone you suspect to be pro-wine, pro-everything else, anti-cannabis, he's a patient. He understands the benefits of this product.
Exactly.
And it's so.
All you have to do is look at Sonoma County over the past 15 years and see what used to be and what is now to know what's going to happen.
Right. Well, the good news
well,
about
the
Sonoma.
I was just going to say, the great thing about Sonoma is they're extremely pot friendly.
Yeah.
There are so many businesses there that are creating full extract cannabis oil, that are creating CO2 extractions. These are all legitimate businesses in Sonoma, and they have been welcomed there.
And even the dispensaries.
And you don't hear about crime and all that kind of stuff related to grows in Sonoma County.
And they probably have the most flexible or easiest regulations to get a dispensary. They don't have to have licenses. They don't need approval. You just got to be a certain distance from certain types of educational facilities, daycare, stuff like that. Right. Right. And the other aspect of this, let's address Napa. We've talked about this many, many moons ago, that Napa actually is coordinating activities with the cannabis industry because they realize there's a place for both of them within the county. So instead of fighting each other, they're cooperating each other. That's, again, I may not like you, but I do. But
hey, don't like them too much, all right?
We had this conversation last night, guys. Forget it. What I'm getting at is we may not like each other, but if we can do business together and it's profitable for both of us and we can put our personal differences aside, we're going to be successful. Exactly. And that's what Napa is doing with the wine industry and the cannabis industry. And I think that's great.
Yeah, no, I didn't know anything about this. That's
Got to talk to me more.
Yes.
I got my spies. And actually, the reason I know that is one of the gentlemen on my baseball team is a respectable That's his term, not mine. Insurance agent in the town of Napa. And he rubs elbows with all the big shots because he's an insurance guy and he's trying to get all their business. But he knows Bill Dodd very well, who's a former county supervisor. He knows all the big shots. And in their business conversations, as part of the chamber and everything else, they're saying, we're working together. We need to develop our economy. We got to make sure Sonoma doesn't steal everything. We want to make sure Lake County does anything, not that we would. So they're working together to make sure that their tourism and their agricultural products are available.
Looking forward to the future to make sure that everybody benefits and everybody is taken care of.
Absolutely correct. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard rumors that they're actually coordinating what we've talked about many times, is doing a combination wine and cannabis tour, where wines are selected to go with certain types of cannabis.
Yeah, and you'd
strains.
have to have your 215 card and
course.
everything, and be a registered user, not be from out of the state. You couldn't be from out of the state. You have to be from here. And I just think that's the best idea. I've been saying that for 5 years that I first lived here.
But what this tells me, and I'm going back to what I kind of sort of do for a living, is that they are projecting what is going to happen, be it 2016, be it 17, be it 18. They're gearing themselves up and positioning themselves to take full advantage of the laws when everything becomes legal. And they're going to be up in front of everybody. And they're going to make the money. They're going to have the public relations in the media and everything else. Where are we at, Lake County? We're burying our heads in the sand. We're not going to be ready.
Throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. We're not going to be ready for the legalization. We're not going to have our economic base established.
These people are ready. We need to join them. We need to work with them. We need to understand the business aspect of this industry before we end up being not only the last county in healthcare, in the economy, in every other aspect of the state of California, but the deadest one with the most deaths per capita, because that's what's going to happen.
So, folks, if you believe in fairness, doesn't matter if you use it as medicine, doesn't mean if you actually don't believe in the use of it. Use your common sense and look at what's best for the community, not what's just best for your point of view. And know that if a fair ordinance was put together where your rights and your concerns are protected and the rights of patients are protected, knowing that you have to give a little leeway and flexibility on both sides, we can come up with something that's good for everybody. And that goes back to my analogy here from a business point of view. We got to do something, folks.
Compromise what makes any relationship work.
Right, exactly. Be it marriage.
20 years almost.
Even though I compromise more.
You do, and I give you thanks for that, and that's what's made us a strong couple, because I'm kind of strong-willed person.
Really?
And I do have a game plan. And
see, I've given up eat and stuff
not
at the house.
not
at the
eating
house.
meat.
At
Not
the house.
you said meeting eat. You gave up meeting eat, also known as eating meat in the house.
The oil's affecting me.
We gave him a little cannabis
Yeah,
oil. He
I
had a
don't-
seizure earlier.
I don't
That's
watch.
why we took a break.
I don't watch as much sports as I used to.
That's true.
As consideration.
What a
to you.
sacrifice.
That
That's
is
huge. I know. I'm saying it seriously.
So there is compromise, folks. And again, I'm going to go back to Clear Lake Council meeting the other day, was that we have one of the worst health issues in California. That's why we got this program coming in, because we're in the bottom 5. So now we have this wellness program to help people with better eating habits, not drinking as much, not smoking as much, cigarettes, and things of that nature. And all during the I'm looking at you. All during the meeting, we're discussing the health benefits of cannabis, that we are one of the bottom 5 counties with health, in suicide, in unemployment. And all they can say is cannabis is a distraction and a negative to our city. Well, I've got news for you, folks. How can you be any worse in the bottom 5 of suicides and health and everything else involved? Why couldn't the council look at the benefits of cannabis and come up with a reasonable, fair ordinance? It just shows you that they're either outright stupid naive, or they have their own agenda. And it sounds like they don't give a damn about the citizens of Clear Lake. All they care
They
about is
don't.
their own agenda,
They don't.
just like the county supervisors.
Exactly.
So
We are lost as a people in this county. We have no representation. Jim Steele's probably the only voice of reason on the board right now. Anthony's 50-50. I mean, sometimes he goes there, sometimes he doesn't. But of course, he did vote on the current ordinance that we have now, and he voted yes for that. So obviously, City Council in Clear Lake is useless. Lakeport's already done an effective ban in growing. So the patients in this county are screwed, basically. Right. And we need to really work harder together to make something happen, to make it change.
right. I just had a brainstorm.
Yes, dear. That's dangerous.
I know it is.
Your brain might explode.
Hey, it's tax season. Leave me alone. As I mentioned earlier, Jeff Smith was at the council meeting, and he really kept his mouth shut. I mean, he did. He didn't say one word in public commentary or in referencing anything. He just kept his mouth shut.
And his head down.
Right. He looked at some of his friends, as I mentioned. But here's the other thing is, and this was brought up by several people in the last couple of days, plus for a long time. I think we should do a recall on Jeff Smith, based on the fact that he
that's a
really
good
does not
idea.
reside in the city of Clear Lake.
It's true. He lives in Oregon. He just comes down here for the meeting.
He has Oregon license plates on some of his vehicles.
Well, he's been such a he's been on the board for so long, people just automatically think he's still
So
here.
I'd like to know, does he have a California license plate? I mean, driver's license. Does he have proof that he is a full-time resident in Lake County? And if he's not, he has no business being on the board. No. So I believe we should investigate that, and then if we find there's sufficient evidence to state that he really is a resident of Oregon, he should be recalled. And I'm going to use IRS regulations here for better choice of some type of form here, that the IRS stipulates on certain aspects of tax law that you have to be within the United States for 187 days, which is half a year plus one. So I like to apply that to Jeff Smith and find out how many days does he stay in Lake County versus Oregon, and what other documentation does he have to support that he is a county resident.
Exactly.
So let's go for it, folks. If
you
anyone,
can't be a part-time resident to be a supervisor. You have to live here majority of the time.
Right. So anyone out there is listening to this
idea.
program, a couple of you, and you know about Mr. Smith, gather some documentation or some evidence, or just give us your knowledge of this thing and call us, 701-6416. We will do the work. We will do the investigation on this. But I'm really getting sick and tired of these people taking advantage of the public.
Yeah, me too.
I don't give a damn about
I'm just sick and tired of being victimized.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm being beat down every step of the way, and I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. So.
And it's not just cannabis, folks.
No.
It's everything that we talk about. I mean, yesterday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the biggest subject on the agenda was the state of Jefferson.
Yeah.
I mean, really, folks?
Yeah, that was the next subject I wanted to talk about because we got like 10 minutes left. So.
10 minutes? Okay.
Well, here's the deal. I thought it was a 4-1 vote because somebody posted on Facebook. It turned out it was a 3-2 vote.
And
Anthony Farrington and Jim Steele both voted no. Yay! Some brains are there on the supervisors board.
Well, the whole point about this, though, is that the Board of Supervisors actually do not have a legal right to say yay or nay. This was just an unofficial, we support it by 3-2. But they have no authority to even think about becoming a state of Jefferson. Matter of fact, my understanding is the whole state of California has to decide that. And I got news for you, folks. Southern Cal doesn't give a damn about us. So it's probably not going to happen. Matter of fact, if I was putting odds in Vegas, it'd probably be 1,000 to 1, if not more. So
for real,
you help. I like you sitting there. It makes me look at the camera.
Yeah, right.
Right, Sydney?
Hello,
Thank you,
Sydney. Hi, how's that pretty girl?
So, again, with all of the problems in Lake County, as we've discussed many times, health, unemployment, lack of economy, except for the wine industry, their biggest agenda
I'm getting
item.
beat by a tail. Well, we got a happy dog.
She's saying, "Mom, it's time."
Almost, yeah.
Anyway,
because we're running late.
I just feel
Hang in
there's,
there, kiddo.
there's
We'll be
bigger
with you.
problems in Lake County than worrying about approval of the state of Jefferson, because it's not a realistic. It's not a realistic solution. It's not going to happen, folks. And yeah,
No.
even Sydney has her commentary on
You
this.
Be quiet now.
Yeah, you know what? Realize the supervisors have a specific job to do. They're not staff. They're not. They're not accountants. They're not economists. Excuse me, guys. But yet they should
No,
be giving
Sydney.
direction
No.
to staff. Do you mind? You're interrupting me.
Behave yourself.
Why aren't we getting direction to staff to come up with some analysis or projections on how we're going to improve our economy? And I keep on saying this. I need to get Jack along on this show.
Yes,
He's
we
the
do.
economic
We
manager.
do.
And find out what
I want to know what he's done besides bring in more vineyards.
he's done dilly squat.
Thank you.
There's no new businesses. And when I say new business, folks, I'm talking about reasonably sized business coming in that could create
Yeah, like
10,
a
20,
Ross
50
or
jobs.
a Payless shoe store or something that we actually need in
Oh,
this
that's
county.
a horrible idea because
Yeah.
it's not wine supported.
Yeah, so this is what's very frustrating to us as citizens is that we see no movement forward in our county development, in our economy, in the creation of jobs. The vineyards are wonderful, but they take every dollar out of our county that they make.
Right.
There's very little left
But
here for us.
Let me say something positive about the wine. Is
Oh,
that
I love the wine industry.
the people we talk to directly that are part of the wine, be it marketing people, be it owners, they're great people.
Yeah.
They're nice. We appreciate what they do. They don't have any attitudes. They're here to make a living like everyone else. So it's not the wine industry individually.
Right.
They're some really great people. Vigilance, help me out. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're good people.
Every person that we've met through the wineries has been, very welcoming and very,
It's-
approachable.
Yeah, and so it's to me, it's more the attitude of government here versus the wine industry. They're here to make a living like everyone else. Do they do things 100% the way you want them? No, but if they're educated and they understand the cost, risk factors involved in changing from chemicals to organic, they may want to do something like that. But there's no incentive by
Yeah.
our government to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, and they have found that the problem with the lake is directly related to agriculture more so than pot plants,
Yes.
which is how they tried to camouflage it and cover it up and make it look like the growers were doing the damage. Well, we still have a problem with our lake, and there's no big, huge grows happening in Lake County right now, at least not around the lake that much. So if that's a fact, then how come the lake's still a
That's an
mess?
interesting study or analysis that needs to be done, and we should contact Mr. Steele. Excuse me, Supervisor Steele.
That's right.
Hey, Jim, and say, look, we have before pictures, we have satellite pictures, all the other good junk we've spent a lot of money on. What's going to happen a year from now?
Yeah,
when
I'd
we
do
don't have
another
any
one.
big grows.
I would do another one in a year and see.
Yeah, and say, well, how come the lake hasn't changed?
Well, what's funny is that even before they did those pictures, they felt that the pictures would prove that there was a lot of stuff coming from the Cow Mountain area in the way of runoff from phosphorus from the roads, the dirt roads up there, and the people on the ATVs and things like that. And they also expected to see a lot of runoff happening from the big grow areas. And what they found out was that it was actually coming more from the agricultural areas like Kelseyville and Mr. Brown's district, and that it was pretty much the runoff from the farms and the vineyards that was causing the issues with the lake.
So,
And let's face it, growers don't usually use a lot of pesticides.
Right, exactly.
well, the cartel type people do.
The Mexican cartels do bring in illegal products, but those people are no longer really active in this area as much as they used to be. I think they've all moved out because of the laws. So, I just feel like they're kind of fooling us all and making us all think that it is what it is and it's not. And then we all, as patients, get blamed for all this, and then we can't access our medicine because they ban it.
Yeah, I still say the outright banning of that violates state law.
Oh, I agree. So this will be challenged and it will be dealt with, and we will keep you posted on the progress.
And there actually are attorneys extremely interested in pursuing
There's
this.
already people that have hired attorneys for Clear Lake already.
Exactly.
So things are going to happen, folks, and it may not be pretty, but when it's over, people will be much freer and things will be much better.
Right. On
So,
that note, we again
yes.
apologize for not doing this live today. Our sites are being upgraded, and hopefully by next week we'll be up and running as usual. I think we're going to end the show on some music right now.
Absolutely, a little more from the Allman Brothers.
And next week I'm going to have some, I know it's going to be really fascinating to folks, some more tax updates on what's happening this tax season and some other issues that I think we should all be aware of. And so you can just anticipate that, wait for it, and we'll be there doing it.
And that's it for us today, folks. Thank you for joining us on Lake County Magazine. I'm Terry Larson.
And Pete the Tax Guy.
And we will see you back here next week. And hopefully we will be streaming next week because they should have all the bugs worked out at the server by the time we get back to you.
And if not, we have an alternative solution.
And you can always find the archives on lcm-tv.com.
And at LCM.
And also at lakecomagazine.com.
Yep.
And don't forget to check Lakeco Magazine daily for your latest updates on news and information. We also have the LC Real Scanner News page on Facebook linked there so people can also watch news as it happens.
And for those of you who do go to LakeCountyMagazine.com.
No, it's
LakeCoMagazine.com to Lake County Magazine. We appreciate you because our readership it has basically doubled over the last couple of months.
Nice.
So we really appreciate that. Obviously, a lot of the readership's based on newsworthy events, but we're getting a very consistent pattern now where our readership is up almost double. So thank you so much for that.
Fantastic. Again, thanks a lot, folks, and we'll see you all next week. Terry and Pete signing out.
Music.
Everywhere.
everywhere.